Hello and good evening. Happy Wednesday to everybody. I got a new t-shirt in, so figured I'd wear it and show it off a little bit. I have a friend, Christy, who's running for office in Tennessee's first district, and she's been selling these shirts, and I couldn't wait to get a hold of mine. Several other people have it as well. Um, Congratulations, everybody, on surviving, oh, I don't know, the madman's threat to end into civilization or all of civilization if he keeps going down the path that he's trying to. I just unplugged my headset. But, I had some conversations with some friends on Facebook, and somebody's like, don't worry about it. He's going to, Taco's going to chicken out like he always does. And I was like, I don't think I can agree with you on this one. And of course he did. It's just I don't know that he would if it hadn't been for so much pushback, including talk of 25th Amendment, which is all way overdue. I mean, it's all long overdue. This is, by the way, I'm Matt Dillahunty. This is a hang up. It's my show here on the line, and it frequently ends up being more about politics than religion. If you want to call in and try to defend MAGA or what's going on, you're welcome to do that. But I don't plan to actually focus on it, despite the T-shirt. I've had a strange few days. I have a family member who's going through radiation and chemo for cancer that's in their lymph nodes, and they're doing all right, but it's rough. I went and saw my doctor this morning, and it's generally positive news. But I do need to go get some more tests and stuff, just general, nothing specific. I'm just gradually getting older. We crossed the 57 mark a week ago, and so hooray! Evidently, that comes with a new. It's time for you to get another physical, and you need to go for this screening. You need to go for this screening. And I'm somebody who has already had triple bypass and is doing just so much better. I mean, my blood pressure's fine. My blood sugar's pretty good. But anyway, this wasn't a health update. I've had a lot of stuff on my mind, both, family health, my health, the state of the world, and, doing a show, doing multiple shows every week, but we're doing this show on Wednesday. By the way, Dr. Blitz will be here with us next Wednesday. I confirmed that this morning. The Artemis 2 has completed its transit around the moon and will be heading back to Earth here in a few days. And I'm impressed and in awe of the fact that we set a new record for. There were humans who were further away from President Trump than any humans ever been in the history of the world, including all the other people who went to the moon because they went just a bit further. They took some amazing pictures. I watched some flat earthers. I was amused at some flat earthers trying to, debunk it and claim it was green screen. Also, during the actual launch, NASA was cutting between cameras, for artistic purposes. And there was a guy that just sat there and counted the cuts. There's like, there's one cut, there's a cut, there's a cut, and it's like they're putting together this whiny narrative from liftoff until they're in space of, what they showed us had a bunch of cuts in it. Yes, it did. But you know what doesn't have a bunch of cuts in it? You could have stood there on the ground and watched the launch yourself. You know what else doesn't have cuts in it? The people who are on airplanes, the multiple people who were on airplanes who filmed the launch. And when they get back, I'm pretty sure that the uncut footage from the side of the fucking rocket will be available somewhere. So you don't get to complain about cuts again, but then it won't be cuts. It'll be AI, it'll be CGI, it'll be whatever. Anything to deny that we live on an oblate spheroid and that there wasn't a firmament that we had to bust through in order to get to the moon. I was born in 1969, and a few months after I was born, We went to the moon and landed, and men walked on the moon for the first time. And, you know, it's been 50 years since we've had a trip up there at all. We're going back. I think my favorite thing so far about this actual mission is that the astronauts received a call from President Trump and just sat there and spun the microphone and watched it and laughed and just did not engage with him at all. Like the astronauts that are up there, he's telling them, you know, how brave they are and how everybody's proud of them and boo, 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 and they have zero interest in speaking to the president of the United States. That was wild to me. But I will say, I don't know exactly what I'm hung up on because there's so many things that are just, it's incredibly stressful to live in this world. And I think back because I used to be a fundamentalist Christian. I was raised primarily Southern Baptist. Evangelical, somewhat. I don't think I was ever a complete biblical literalist, but somehow, somewhere, I largely believed that the Bible was true in some sense, and you know that it would all make sense because you know God's not a liar. And there was a period of time when I was definitely a Rush Limbaugh ditto head. I was, you know, raised as a, you know, kind of a Reagan conservative. When I put on my Christian hat, which is up there, and I'm not going to grab it, but that's the literal one, figuratively. I don't think I don't think I would be comfortable in the world that I'm witnessing, and it baffles me that so many people who frequently identify as Christian are. And we know there are the con artists, the ones who don't believe this but are doing it for money and power, and they're duping, you know, mass portions of the population by feeding them false fears. Oh, you need to hate the immigrants. You need to hate the trans folks. You need to hate black folks. You need to hate anybody who's not American. You need to hate Muslims. You need to hate these are the people, all of these are, and it's all, you know, the billionaire Epstein class. They're going to profit off of the war. They're going to profit off the cleanup from the war. They're going to profit off of the Strait of Hormuz when it's closed. They're going to profit off of it when it's open. They're going to profit off the bombs that we drop. They're going to profit from absolutely everything because the way the markets work, it is easy if you have money to manipulate that into more money. And it's even easier when you are in the world's most powerful government that is going to dictate what's going to happen economically around the planet. I'm convinced that, you know, while we are evidently Benjamin Netanyahu's personal sidekick, doing whatever he wants, because right after we work out a ceasefire deal, Israel launches attacks in Lebanon, which I don't know that anybody's said they weren't actually attacking like 100 Hezbollah sites. But the issue is whether or not that was included as, you know, off limits during the ceasefire or whatever. And Iran says it was. And so they're closing it again. And now everybody's going to make more money. And not everybody. You won't make more money. I won't make more money. Pam Bondi will probably make more money. Have you seen the Dow? As she avoids testifying, we have a world that's being run by some of the most vile, corrupt individuals who are stealing and slaughtering in order to hide their corrupt, immoral behavior. stuff that we would get demonetized and taken off YouTube if I were to read off some of the accusations that come not just from the Epstein files, but from the various victims in the countless lawsuits. And I have former friends who grew up with me, who went to the same church, who are MAGA through and through, and are running around making excuses. And I don't get it. But setting aside the actual politics of this, maybe I got it wrong. I've said before, I have no idea what would change my mind about whether or not a God exists, but if there is a God, that God should know and should be capable of it, and he hasn't done it. And that means it's his problem, not mine. Maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe he doesn't want me to know he exists, whatever. And that's where my position as an atheist basically starts and stops. I do not have reason to think that a God is real. But it goes beyond that, because if I did have reason to think that, for example, some particular God was real, that still wouldn't compel me to worship or to be a follower or to adhere to that God's commands. That God would need to demonstrate a worthiness in their moral views, in their thoughts about humanity, and their values and what they wanted from us. And so it would have to go beyond merely a God exists. I would have to know more about that being. And then I still don't think I would worship. Oh, I could definitely respect and I can respect and revere anybody. I don't think I can worship anybody. And I think a being that demands or expects worship is automatically disqualified from having actually earned it. The very notion that someone could expect to be worshipped disqualifies them. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys who are believers out there are getting out of your belief. We know, because right now we're going out, we're doing horizontal video, we're doing vertical video. I think you get a choice when you're on YouTube as to which one you watch. And you pick the one that suits you. But I know we're going to hit a different audience tonight than we do on some occasions, and I'm thrilled. If you're out there and you're a theist of some stripe, I'd like you to explain I'd love for you to defend the notion that a God exists. Great. That's step one. But how do you know, like if we just begin with assuming the God you believe in exists for real, how do you know what that God wants, what it values, and how does that impact your life? What is worship like for you? Because when I was a believer, worship was church services, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night visitation, Wednesday night service, Thursday night youth group, weekend mission trips. I went to church more than my parents. I went to church more than most people I knew. My friends were there. I loved it. Never had a bad experience. It was the place that I felt like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. But I don't know exactly what my belief at the time did for my life. I can definitely say that it, on occasion, I would feel euphoric and elated and joyful, and on other occasions I would feel despondent and guilty and eventually manipulated, not by individuals, but just by the message. So if you're out there and you think a God exists, how do you know what that God wants? How do you worship it? How does your belief impact your life? And more importantly, perhaps, because I don't just want to make this story time for believers, do you think that tonight's guest, Brady Goodwin, and myself should share your belief, or at least act as if we share your belief? What would we get out of buying into your notion of your God? And so on that note, let's get Brady in here and talk about it. When you were actively believing, how did that impact your day-to-day life? Was it, hey, I'm going to get undressed in my Sunday finest and show off and interact and get my dose of cafeteria Christianity, and then I'm going to go do whatever I want the rest of the week? Or was this like genuinely impacting your life daily?
Yeah, it genuinely impacted my life daily. I think one of the best things Christianity did for me when I was a believer was it gave me a value, but it was an outsourced value. So the whole idea of man being made in the image of God, like, oh, that's why I should care about my life and my mother's life and, even strangers, that person's made in the image of God. And so I valued people because I wasn't born a believer. I became a believer.
Sure.
So I was able to compare my belief to my prior life as an unbeliever. Now I cared about people, but not for people's sake. I cared about them because they were made in the image of God. And so it did help me to treat people better. But it's interesting because when I became an unbeliever again, when I was when I was unborn again, when I became a believer after being a believer, I didn't lose my value of people. As a matter of fact, I gained the
Yeah.
value of people because I wasn't valuing them for God's sake anymore. It was maybe there's something selfish to it. You can't have empathy without knowing your own value first. So I had to look at my life and value my life and then attribute that same value to other people for their sake. And so I retained a value for people, but it was no longer based on God. So I
Mhm.
think if your belief is going to do anything, it should at least give you a value for life.
Yeah, it's I advocate for secular humanism, not as a hard and fast, oh, here's the commandments of secular humanism. No, it's basic principles. It's about individual autonomy and respect and dignity, and striving for equality. Actually, somebody called in on Sunday, um, to call me out for two things related to racial insensitivity, and one of them was, um, me referencing, uh, using the term blacks, um, when I was talking about race things,
Hmm.
uh, and also the term melanin afflicted. And it turns out the melanin afflicted one was me trying to portray the most bigoted views and how they could all be justified by faith. So I was kind of putting
Hmm.
myself in the shoes of somebody like that. But later on, somebody sent me clips of me actually just straight up talking and saying whites and blacks when I was just going through this. And I know how my head got there. And I get
Hmm.
that I wouldn't say that now that it's been brought to my attention, but it was something that I genuinely didn't even know I did. It was like, I'm trying to think like someone who's
Hmm.
objecting to things, and I'm trying to use softer language. And so I went with still racially insensitive language and stuff like that. So I appreciate, getting called out, because that's what makes me realize, hey,
Hmm.
you've still got work to do to be just a generally better person, and to make sure that you can do good things in a purely performative sense.
Hmm.
And you can be altruistic purely for selfish reasons. Like, I
Yeah.
want to appear to others to be
Hmm.
gracious and charitable because that actually benefits me in the long run. And
Yeah.
it's more about things where, if you're not aware of who other people are and what they're going through, is what kind of you were talking about with empathy. It's difficult
Yeah.
to exercise empathy, not just to have it, but to put it to use. I watched a quick video interview just before I went live today of Felicia Day on, Brent Spiner and Jonathan Frakes' podcast, Dropping Names. And I always loved her. I thought she's great. And both her and Frakes pointed out changes in casting, in Hollywood, in part
Hmm.
because evidently, Felicia played a role where she was in a wheelchair, and now you would actually get someone, who
Hmm.
was wheelchair bound, to, and that's probably insensitive to describe that way. I don't even know how to describe it, but the people in certain categories should be playing those people. We don't need to get people in blackface. We don't need to get people,
Hmm.
straight people doing gay roles. We don't need,
Hmm.
straight, cis people doing trans roles. There's a big enough variety in the world of talented
Hmm.
people. And I get that it's acting. And
Hmm.
so you
Yeah.
can
I'm sitting
act
there
in
thinking about all
people.
that as you're saying this. I'm like, but it is acting though. But no, I,
Yeah.
I get your point.
But it's like, um, there may be times when it's the best thing you can do to
Hmm.
cast outside of a group. And it may be the worst thing. But just to be aware of that stuff,
Yeah,
to be aware
exactly.
about how women are treated differently than I am, than you are.
Yeah.
Um, how black folks are treated differently than I am. It's like, not everything about me is privilege, but a
Hmm.
lot of it is. And being aware of that isn't about, ooh, I need to check myself. It's holy crap. I can be a better person for the sake of being a better person, because
Yeah.
these other people, not because a God wants me to, not because it's tied to whatever religion I'm in, but because they're people who deserve that.
Yeah.
And we're all carrying around lots of baggage that lead us to misunderstand situations regularly.
I had a question real quick. I
Sure.
said this a minute ago, but I'm curious what you really think about this idea, because I really do think at the base of, because I talk to Christians on my podcast all the time, and one of them called in yesterday and asked, like, why? So I'll share this. Someone that I had on a few months ago passed away. It was a Christian who I had a conversation with. He passed away. I didn't know him too well. Matter of fact, I didn't know him at all. He had listened to my music back when I was a Christian rapper. He was a Christian hip hop DJ. Always
Mm.
loved my music, always played my music. So now he's having a conversation with me as an atheist, and he's still a Christian. So, I had him on the show, but he passed away on Easter just a few days ago. And I didn't know him outside of that one conversation we had on my podcast, but I felt like, everybody was, just lauding him with praise for just the great guy that he was. And even my short interaction with him, I was like, yo, he was a great guy. So I posted a video and I said this. I said, when he passed away, I found myself wishing that heaven was real, because it pained me to think of this great guy who I just met. Like, it's not just that he's not here anymore, he's not anymore. And
Yeah.
so I talked about, just as an atheist, I'm like, man, there's something in me that almost hopes he's with his Jesus now, even though I've got no reason to think that that's true. I hate the idea that he's not here anymore. He's not around. So a Christian called in and said, after I talked about this, I said, we all need to make the most of our lives now while we have it. And a Christian called in and said, why should we do that? Why should, he was an atheist, Brady. Why should we make the most of our lives? And I began to go into my spiel on my ethics and all that. And he kept trying to press the issue of why should we? And I got into my morality. And at the end of it, I came and I said, I think I can't deny that there's something not selfish, but self-interested, even in the way that I, as an atheist, work out my morality.
Oh, yeah.
Why do I want to create the world to be a certain way? Because I have to live in it. Why do I want to treat people a certain way? Because I want them to treat me that way. And I'm getting to the point where I'm losing whatever shame I might have had in basing my morality on, because this is how I would want to be treated, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to live in this world.
Yeah. I'm complete agreement. I did a video. Um, it was called Y'all Just Want to Sin.
Mm.
And it's one of the only atheist debates video where I'm not the one that voices the intro. I specifically had Beth, my ex-wife, who's from Tennessee and has a great y'all accent. I had her do the intro that was Y'all Just Want to Sin. And because it's authentic when she does it.
Uh-huh.
But it was, the whole point of that video was, this is a common accusation that, oh, we're out here doing these things because we just want to sin. And the point of the video was to say, yeah, the thing that you're describing as sin, I don't think is a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I think it might be a good thing.
Mm.
And you're not going to shame me into conforming. All you're really saying when you say y'all just want to sin is, you guys don't agree with me on my interpretation of the morality that I think comes from God. And the answer is, yeah, of course.
Mm.
But I want to make the point that while you can have intellectual discussions and present logical arguments, and debate about whether or not there's a God, you don't need to. If you don't believe in a God because you're gay and that God says there's something wrong with you for being gay, or people on behalf of that God say there's something wrong with you for being gay, that's a good enough reason to not adhere to it. It has nothing to do with whether you think that God's real or not. It absolutely is justification for rebelling against that concept. If your parents told you that you're a terrible artist, but you loved art and you were just convinced they didn't get it, so you ditched them and went on with your life and tried to pursue art, cool. That's not a bad reason to ditch people who aren't supportive.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're actually good at it or not. People, you know, you don't have to say you're the best artist ever. You can be whatever you want when you grow up. Your wife is the most beautiful. Your kids are the most beautiful. Everybody in your town and your family is the most talented. You don't have to do that. But with something that is subjective and passionate, like art, or deeply personal, like your sexuality or gender, or any of those things, if you're in conflict with a person or a group or a god, that's enough reason to not stay in contact with or continue to be, treated as a second-class citizen by those entities.
Yeah.
I will say, Pope Leo the 14th made a comment on Easter after Trump made his comment on Easter. And what he said was, this is a quote from the Pope, "Death is always lurking. We see it in violence, in the wounds of the world, in the cry of pain that rises from every corner because of the abuses that crush the weakest among us, because of the idolatry of profit that plunders the earth's resources, because of the violence of war that kills and destroys." Hashtag Easter. And I replied, 10 out of 10, best Pope ever. He's still the Pope, but I'm not only going to judge him on the fact that he's part of a corrupt criminal organization. I'm going to judge the content of his character. And that message doesn't say anything about Catholicism. It doesn't say anything about Jesus. It doesn't say anything about Christianity.
Yeah.
It stands up to the fascists that are attacking the world out of their idolatry of money. And I don't know this Pope, but he's already, with that statement on Easter, the best Pope I've ever seen or interacted with. And there were people like, oh, don't give him any credit for that. Look, if the Pope wants to call in and debate Catholicism with me, I will call him out on everything from the stupidity of transubstantiation, of all the various saints, of the notion of praying to Mary and all this stuff. I'll do it from a Protestant standpoint. I'll do it from an atheist standpoint. If the Pope and let's go head to head. Come on, Pope Leo. I got you, bro. We can do this. But I will still say that is a great statement to the world. And it's embarrassing to me that not only did it come from a theist, but it came from the head of one of the most corrupt criminal theistic organizations in the history of the world. Hopefully he cleans it up. Instead of the president of the United States, instead of the president of American Atheists. Sorry, Nick, you didn't say that, but you said plenty of good things. The head of a secular humanist organization. I'm sure the Pope and I would disagree on countless things, but the Pope's fucking right. And in many ways, a better human being, and maybe a better humanist in that statement.
Didn't he also say something to the effect of God doesn't hear the prayers of like warmongers or something like that? Was that part of it?
I don't know. Not in that message. I don't know if he said that elsewhere, but
gotcha.
So we got some callers, including a theist. If you're a theist, you're always going to go to the head of the queue here. And so,
hey, before you take the call, I prompted you in Discord, but could you refresh for back?
Oh, why, yes. There we go. I have refreshed. Has it? Oh, it's been frozen since like 6:03. Wow.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, sorry. Next time, just go ahead and interrupt my intro if we need to fix the video. I know you're loath to do that, but on the other hand, we got a good chunk of video. So there we go. For those of you watching in vertical, you got to see me just sitting there while you listened to me. And you know what? That's probably good enough. I'm way too pretty for you to watch me in motion for the entire show.
Too distracting, huh?
All right. Here we go. We're gonna get some theist calls. By the way, if you want to call it 720-619-2288, or there's a link below the video to call in studio and how you can connect via your PC. If you do connect via web browser through that link, and you're on your phone, make sure when we take your call that you might have to refresh your phone to wake it up and refresh the browser. But if you're calling from a telephone, we should be pretty good. There will still be a delay, but here we go. Carlos is holy crap! What's all that noise, Carlos?
Yo tratando de disimular.
Okay, I'm going to return Carlos to the queue because we'll get back to Carlos in a second. Just so you're aware, one of the other notes is that try to make sure you're in a place where there's not a whole bunch of background noise. Or people talking or trains. Don't call me when you're driving. All the good stuff. But let's try again, see if we can get Carlos in here. This is one of many shows on the Line Network. And I'm thrilled that today on April 8th, 2026, Brady and I get to do this and hang out and hopefully have some really good conversations. Coming up tomorrow on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, Lux is going to be on with Riverboat Jack at 2 p.m. Central. And on Saturday, there's a Cus I Wanna with Arden and Kip Davis. And on Sunday, on the Sunday show, I'll be on with Promise for the early show, and Justin and Owen will be on for the Sunday show after dark. Next Monday, Skeptalk will be Erica Gibbon and Arden. And next week on Chewed Gum will be Taylor and Alyssa again. All right, let's see if we can get Carlos in here now.
Hello?
Boom, boom. Hey, Carlos, calling from Florida. Pronter Hiem says, without God, you're unprotected. How you doing, Carlos?
Is this Matt?
Yes, this is Matt and Brady.
Hey, Matt, how are you? A long time. Nice to talk to you.
Yep. You doing all right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, very good. What about you? I remember your health condition. You're doing better? I can see you're eating better.
I saw the doctor today and I'm doing fine. So what are we unprotected from? What are we unprotected from, and which God protects us?
Well, let me tell you first, you have to understand the concept of God. You understand? Because the way they've been teaching you is been the wrong way. You know, for example, God is not about churches. God is not about money. God is not about the Bible. That's why we are lost. And that's why we are not understanding each other. And that's why we're killing each other. It's very simple.
Whose fault is that,
I can explain
Carlos?
you if you want.
Carlos.
Yes.
Whose fault is all of that?
Is our own fault because we still don't know the proper way.
And what is God's culpability? One question. What is God's culpability or responsibility? I know you said it's our fault. What is God's responsibility?
No. God has no responsibility. Our responsibility is ours. God only made the game. God is only watching the game. You get me?
Okay. So you believe that there's a God that is the creator that is only watching and isn't doing anything?
No, that's not how it works. I not only believe, I know that God created this beautiful game called life.
I don't need you to tell me. Carlos, I don't need you to tell me you know. Whether you know it or not, you do believe this. So the God you're talking about, you believe and know, whatever, that this God created everything and then just sits back and watches and doesn't do anything, right?
No, not sits back. You don't understand the concept of the game. You see, you have to understand the concept of the game. You know what is the purpose of life?
How do you know the concept of the game? How do you know the concept of the game?
I don't think that life has any externally imposed purpose.
Let me explain you, because if I tell you who I am, then you're not going to believe me. So let me explain you about
I get it now,
the game of life.
I get it now.
Carlos, you see what I mean? It's easy.
Carlos,
you play by the rules.
Carlos.
Okay, yes.
Carlos.
Yes.
I need you to answer the questions that I ask. Can you tell me, you are convinced that God is real, right?
Oh, I can prove it to you.
I didn't. Why can't you just answer the question that I asked you instead of something else?
All right. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you, but let me give you the opportunity to explain to you about the concept of God, fear, evil,
I'm literally,
and karma.
Carlos, I'm literally fucking asking you to explain it, but I need to go in small chunks so that we don't miss something important. So just answer the question I'm asking and you'll be able to explain all of it.
Okay,
So
Okay, I will
you
answer,
believe-
but no need to be upset, brother. We're together.
So stop talking.
Okay.
You believe that there's a God that created everything, correct?
Yes.
You believe that this God has something that he wants from us? Yes or no?
The only thing, I mean, how do I say that? God has rules. And if we break the rules, that's why we pay our sins. You see what I mean?
So,
For example,
Carlos,
killing.
Carlos.
Okay.
Are
okay.
you saying
Okay.
that what God wants from us is to follow his rules?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course. That's all.
Yes. Cool. I don't need you to answer 5 times. Just once is good. That gets us going faster. How do we know what God's rules are?
Well, if you follow the rules, then you will see how everything will change in your life.
No, Carlos,
For example,
I can't follow rules I don't know about. The question I asked you was, how do we know what God's rules are?
Because prophets are the ones that know the rules. You remember Jesus? Jesus was a prophet. He was chosen to send the word of God. But guess what happened? Hate came over and got rid of him. You see what it means? So God sends soldiers.
Carlos, I'm asking you how we know what God's rules are, and you said prophets know the rules. How do we know who's a prophet?
Yes. Well, if you can easily debunk a prophet, because you just have to meet him, understand him, and listen to him. That's it. And then he will tell you everything that you want to know.
Carlos, how do I tell the difference between a real prophet and someone who's just pretending to be a prophet?
You can, when you see him in person, when you see him right, like you could be five feet away from him, you will know that he will be the messenger of God. The same thing happened to Jesus. Everybody knew that he was special. Why? Because he was chosen to do so.
That's simply a lie, Carlos. That is simply a lie. You have no idea what
now you're calling me a liar.
Yes, I'm calling you a liar.
You're calling me a liar. Listen,
yes, you're a liar.
You see, now you wanna get upset and you wanna block.
I'm not upset at all. I'm going to mute you. I'm calling you a liar because you just claimed everybody knew Jesus was the prophet. That's a lie. And it's a lie because you have no way of knowing or demonstrating what everybody knew. But if everybody knew that he was a prophet, that would be really surprising, considering there were people who said he wasn't a prophet. So you're saying that the people who don't think Jesus was a prophet are liars, when you have no way of demonstrating that. So instead, I'm asking you, how can Brady and I tell whether or not somebody's a real prophet? And you have yet to say anything other than, if you're 5 feet away from them, you'll know. Okay, well, I don't have the opportunity to be 5 foot away from anybody that you're asserting is a prophet, like Jesus. So let's start over. I'm going to unmute you. And then without exaggerating, which is why I'm calling you a liar, because you exaggerated about what everybody knew about Jesus, instead of telling me what everybody knew or what you pretend or lie or exaggerate that everybody knew, just answer the questions. There are people who you think are prophets. I don't think they're prophets. How can we tell? What method can Brady and I use to determine who a prophet is? And I'll cut right to the chase. The first question I want you to ask is, or I want you to answer is, are you a prophet? So I'm going to unmute you now. You're back. Carlos, are you a prophet?
But you're calling me a liar.
I'm asking you if you're a prophet.
You say the F word.
Yes, I said fuck. I'm sorry that's difficult for you.
Yeah, let's be talking like a normal person. We're brothers, brother.
I am talking like a normal person. This is how normal people talk. I'm sorry. Are you going to continue to avoid the questions and act offended, or are you going to answer the question? Are you a prophet, Carlos?
No, I can answer the question. Yes,
are you a prophet?
I found out in September 20 of 2020.
Okay, I didn't ask you when you found out, did I?
Okay.
I asked you if you were a prophet, and that's a yes or no. So you're a prophet. How can Brady and I know that you're a prophet?
Well, let's get together and I'll show you how it works. And by the way, I can save you life in the process so you don't end up in a hospital or in a car accident or with a terrible disease. It's simple. I'll show you.
You'll show me what?
I'll show you the way. I'll show you God.
How can I know that you're a prophet? How do I know you're not delusional?
Hey, the purpose of your call was to you want to know a good taste that knows something. You don't want to keep calling clowns that don't know anything.
You're a clown.
Like
you're a
ones you keep
clown,
calling.
Carlos.
Oh,
Prove
you
you're
see?
not a clown.
Why are you calling me a clown? But why are you
Because
calling me a
can't-
clown when I'm talking
Carlos,
to you?
Carlos,
But
can you prove you're not a clown? You're accusing other people of being a clown when everybody's mocking you right now. Prove you're not a clown. Prove you're a prophet.
Because look, you still don't know. That means they don't know. They're clowns like
I'm
our
sorry,
president.
Carlos.
You see?
I'm sorry, Carlos. You're. How do I know you're not a clown?
Well, let me speak. Let's make this conversation happen so I can prove it to you.
I'm literally
can show
trying
it
to
to
make
you.
this conversation happen. I've asked you.
Then why you keep
I've
insulting
asked
me?
you.
You
Stop
already called me a
talking.
clown
Stop
and you
talking.
already
Stop
said the
talking. You
F-word.
clowning liar. I asked you, how do we know what
You
God's
have no
rules are?
control on yourself.
I have control of myself, and I also have control of you, bitch. So stop talking. I'm going to mute you. How do we know what God's rules are? You have no explanation other than you would know it if you were hearing it from a prophet. Okay. How do we know what a prophet is? Well, you would know if you were in their presence. Okay. Are you a prophet? Yes, I am. Okay. How can we know you're a prophet? Well, because you need to listen to me and not these other clowns because you don't know. Okay. How do we know you're not a clown? You have nothing, Carlos. You don't know how to demonstrate anything. You haven't made any attempt to demonstrate anything. All you've done is say, you can show me. And all I keep asking you is how? You don't have any understanding, it seems, of how one would tell the difference between someone who's an actual prophet and a clown. So, I don't know. I'm sure Brady's got questions as well. I still want to know how to tell the difference between a prophet and a clown, because right now, Carlos, you are squarely in clown category, and I'd like you to move to prophet category so you can actually demonstrate what you said. Let's try this again. I'm going to bring you back, and you can, I'm sure Brady's got questions too, but I'd just like to know, how do we tell the difference between a clown and a prophet?
Hey, can you just let's talk without insulting each other?
Carlos, if you stop fucking whining, I'll stop insulting you.
Okay.
How do we tell the difference between a clown and a prophet?
A clown is somebody that makes people fun and makes people laugh, and he works in a circus. A prophet is a messenger of God.
Okay. Are you saying that I've been taking calls? You said earlier I was taking calls from clowns. Are you saying I've been taking calls from people who work in a circus? Because I think now you're lying.
What I mean, you know exactly what I meant.
No. So when I asked you how to tell the difference between a clown and a prophet, you decided to go with a literal definition of clown that does not match your previous accusation, which means you are a liar.
This is what happens when
Carlos.
evil doesn't want to know the truth.
I need you to tell us the truth, Carlos.
He wants
How do
to
we tell
make
the
up
difference?
excuses, bro. Yeah, but
I'm
let
not
me
making
speak. If you're I cannot tell you the truth if you don't let me speak.
You're literally the liar, and now you're complaining that I don't let you speak. You're not going to get me mad. You're not even going to get my blood pressure up. I'm going to give you multiple opportunities to answer the question. And it's really simple. Explain how we can tell that someone is truly a prophet.
Okay. When you see a prophet, you feel their energy. You know the knowledge. You know how wise they are.
Do you have to see them? Do you have to see them? Or can you just listen to them?
No, you can listen too. Oh, yeah, that's the power.
Carlos,
you can listen to them too.
I'm listening to you and I don't feel the energy. Therefore, you're not truly a prophet.
No, of course not, because it doesn't work with people that are on the dark. You see, like
okay.
Like
atheists. So when I asked you, how we can tell whether or not someone is truly a prophet, you gave me an answer that won't work for us.
No. What happens is because for the people like that, it has to be extreme, like extra explanation because it's very hard to understand. Somebody healthy understands easy, but somebody with evil understands very hard.
So
For
you're
example,
saying
like Donald
that
Trump.
Brady and I are too evil to know that you're really a prophet.
Well, tell me something. Did you eat red meat?
Does that make somebody evil?
Of course, because if God is about love, what the hell are you doing eating red meat? You know,
How do you know
sacred.
that?
So,
How do you know that eating red meat makes you evil?
What do you? Where do you think cancer comes from? Where do you
I'm
think
sorry.
diseases
How do you
come
know
from?
that eating red meat makes you evil, and what does that have to do with cancer? Do you think cancer only affects evil people?
Exactly. Cancer is karma.
I'm sorry. I'm
for
sorry,
eating
dipshit.
something forbidden.
I'm sorry, dipshit. I don't get to ask you a question and then you respond with exactly, as if you're agreeing with me. You just claimed that we're too evil to tell that you're a prophet, and that eating red meat makes one evil, and that has something to do with cancer. And so when I ask you, does cancer only affect evil people? You then say exactly. Are you saying that cancer only affects evil people?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
If you
So
read that,
my dad is
if
evil.
you respect the rules,
My dad is evil.
then you're not gonna have cancer.
Is my dad evil?
You see?
Is my dad evil?
If
Is my dad evil? Is my dad
Did he
evil?
eat cows?
I'm sorry, this is a
Did
yes
he
or
eat
no
cows?
question, motherfucker. Is my dad evil?
Did he eat cows?
I don't know what he eats anymore because his throat is closed. Is my dad evil,
Exactly.
you piece of shit?
Okay, did he have cancer?
Yes.
Oh, exactly. Where do you think the cancer came from for eating cheese, pizza, and pepperoni? Cows are sacred.
Are you a fucking scientist? And by the way, scientist doesn't say anything about evil. Are you really this stupid, Carlos? Or are you pretending for
Why
effect?
why do you keep insulting me? Why can't
Because
we have
you're
a normal
stupid as fuck.
conversation without you getting
Because
upset?
you are stupid as fuck, Carlos. You don't know how anything works. You don't know how to demonstrate anything. You say we're evil, and now you're telling me my dad's evil because he has cancer. You're saying that no good person has ever gotten cancer. You are a monumental piece of shit.
You still don't understand because you don't let me explain. And I never said
Carlos
you
know
died
that
of evil.
you're a
You
liar.
said it.
Cancer?
You're a liar and a piece of shit. I've offered you repeated chances to explain, and instead you're worried and crying like a little bitch about being insulted for being an awful person, while you say that everybody who's ever gotten cancer is evil. You're a piece of shit. Say goodbye, piece of shit.
Hey, why are you letting me go? You see?
Because you're a piece of shit, and I got other callers I'd rather talk to rather than somebody
you
who's
see,
stupid
you want to
enough.
talk to the clowns?
Yeah, no, I'm going to put you on hold, and you're going to listen to me because I'm going to school you. You don't know how cancer works. You don't know how science works. You don't know how reason works. You don't know how logic works. You don't know a fucking thing. You don't know how to tell the difference between a prophet and a clown. You're not a clown because you don't work in a circus, but you're definitely a clown in the metaphorical sense that you went to before you lied and pretended that you were using a different reference. All Brady and I had done is ask, how do we know what God's rules are? You never got there. You never even made an attempt to get there. You just want to assert that you're fucking special, that you're a special prophet. Well, you're a piece of shit. And whatever being you're a prophet for is also a piece of shit for making you a prophet. The good thing is, I don't think you're a prophet, and I don't think there's any being behind you. I think that you're a sad, sad individual who's accepted a bunch of delusional statements, and you're proud in your Dunning-Kruger to run around pronouncing to everyone else that they're evil. I'm sure that there are good reasons to not eat red meat, and there may be a case that everybody who's ever eaten red meat is evil in some sense, because I've already pointed out that veganism, while I don't think it's a moral obligation, is certainly morally virtuous. However, when you go further to say that red meat is where cancer comes from, it's amazing that you don't work for some cancer institute research. It's amazing because you are too fucking stupid to understand how the science works. You're not going to take an explanation from anybody because you're cocksure that you're dead right. You're never going to get to speak again, but I am leaving you on hold so that you definitely hear this. You're never, ever, ever going to get to speak again because you made the accusation that no good person has cancer. No good person has ever had cancer. Well, it's funny because plenty of God believers of all stripes have had cancer. Plenty of atheists have had cancer. People from all walks of life have cancer. It is it is a condition that results from genetic evolution mistakes, essentially, of rampant replication. Something that if you believe there's a God that created everything, he created that too. Dumbass. But when you're the type of person who's just going to call in for the first time, you've had 19 calls previous, or counting this one, but you haven't called since November of 24. And you're going to call in to make a pronouncement that only evil people get cancer. We don't need to hear a word from you. You're not a prophet of anything but your own delusion and ignorance. You're not a prophet for anything but your own pathetic existence, where you are so desperately wounded and clueless and lost that you need to feel superior to people. So in September or whatever of 2020, when you found out you were a prophet, I don't know what happened to you. I hope you get some help, because you're nuts and you are evil by running around thinking that you are superior to everybody else and making proclamations that cancer doesn't impact good people. Go fuck yourself until you get some help. And when you get some help, you can call in and apologize. And then maybe you can explain something about a God. Because right now you're not in any condition to explain anything to anyone.
Your camera's bunk again, but also I wish you would have answered Brady's question about babies, and you guys didn't even get to hear him talk about how he thinks birds are sacred.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's also wrong to eat chickens
Arden,
because birds are sacred.
I'll go back on my word if you'd like me to bring Carlos back in to answer those things.
Oh, you didn't drop him already? Oh, I mean,
no. Okay.
It's all content.
So Carlos, I want you to answer Brady's questions about. I want you to answer Brady's questions about baby and explain how birds are sacred.
Hey, Brady, how are you? But just please don't be nasty as Matt. Don't insult me. Be nice.
I'm sorry. Carlos? I'm going to mute you again, Carlos. Let's make Carlos, this very clear. This is my fucking show, and you're coming back because I respect my co-host and I respect my producer, and I respect my producer probably more than anybody else on the planet. But I'm going to let you back in, but you keep my name out your fucking mouth. Don't mention me. Don't be concerned about the mistreatment. Don't try to use me as an example. I have zero interest in anything else you're going to say, but there are other people who might. So let's try again. Start this call over. Carlos is calling in from Florida. Pronouns are he, him. He's calling in to talk to Brady only, and he's not going to mention me in the slightest. He's a theist who wants to explain something about babies and how birds are sacred.
I'll ask the question. Carlos, you said that people who get cancer, the cancer is evidence that they're evil. They did something to get the cancer. They ate red meat or whatever the case might be. I was thinking it. I thought Matt was even going to say it, but then a few people in the chat actually wrote it. And so I just want to give voice to people in the chat who were saying to you, what about babies, infants that have cancer? What did they do to end up with cancer in your worldview?
Can I answer the question?
It's a question. Yes, it's a question.
Okay, cool. It's very easy. You got to remember how the punishments work. You see, for example, when you do something wrong, then evil is going to show up and take care of you.
For example,
the children.
What did the infant do wrong?
Okay, the children. Okay.
What did the infant do wrong?
Let me explain to you. Okay, let me explain to you. You know, the children and animals are always innocent. The guilty ones are the parents. So remember, we pay our sins with our children. But let me explain to you.
Carlos, wait. You said enough. Carlos, you've said enough. You're saying that infants end up with cancer because of what their parents have done?
Of course. Can I give you
an example? God is punishing person number 2 for person number 1's sins, and you worship this God?
No. God doesn't punish people. God is love, brother. God will never hurt anybody.
Carlos, I'm going to give you some leeway here. Are you saying God afflicts person number 2 to punish person number 1?
No.
And I don't know what you're saying.
That evil is the one that punishes people. God will never hurt a baby. God is not the one like the Bible. That's why everybody's confused. God would never hurt a
Carlos,
child.
I think you're confused. There's a poll in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, let me explain to you.
Someone asked, what do you think Carlos is? Evil, a clown, or prophet? And I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, but I just want you to know how you're coming off. 73% of the people in the chat said evil. I'm sorry, 22 said evil. 73 said clown. You got 4% of the people who say, hey, this guy might be a prophet.
Yeah, because
I just want you to know how you're polling. If you were the president right now,
what do you expect?
Wait, if you were the president right now, you'd be paying attention to the polls.
Did you just say monkey?
Did he say that?
Do you expect me to win over here? No, I wouldn't say monkey. What do you mean monkey? You see, don't try to mess over here, Matt. Come on, behave.
Okay, I'm pretty much, I just wanted to give voice to the person in the chat that said, what about babies? And I'm not sure if Carlos even understands how incoherent his responses are. So I'm
because you're not understanding me yet. Let me explain to you so you can understand.
I don't have any more interest in that, Carlos. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay, Mary, but God bless you. And remember, cows are sacred, so don't eat cheese, red meat, and don't wear leather because karma is coming.
Yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Wow.
Hey, why do you have to be like that?
Because you're a piece of shit who deserves it.
But you see what cows do? Do you see what cows do?
I see what you do.
You will pay. Your children are going to get sick. If you eat red meat, your children are going to get sick.
I see what you do. I see what you do, you lying fucking cowardly piece of shit.
You know, there's transgenderism.
You're a lying cowardly piece of shit.
There's autism. There's
you're a lying cowardly piece of shit of epic proportions. I see what you do. You're useless. Nobody should pay attention to you. Nobody's ever going to pay attention to you. Nobody gives a shit what you say because you're garbage. Anything else you'd like to say?
Thank you. Yeah. I don't get mad. You're mad because this is your show.
You know what else?
And you can't even drive it.
Carlos, let me ask you one more question. Carlos, let me ask you one more question. How'd it feel to get hung up on? I don't care.
Wow. That was a nice first call.
I'm sorry, honey, we didn't get to birds are sacred.
It's okay. He's called in to do it like 10 times. It's really funny, but it's a lol cow. It's not like a serious conversation.
This is embarrassing. Can we reset the show? Are there any actual theists out there who know anything or want to explain anything instead of just calling in to think that they're God's special prophet, and then who say cancer never impacts good people, and then when asked how cancer impacts infants, he notes infants are innocent, which means by definition he's lied again. He can't even keep the story straight in the span of one call, because if infants are innocent, then cancer has never affected them. Oh, no. It's not God punishing them. It's not God imposing his justice. It's evil. Evil only impact. Oh, it's because of their parents. Oh, wait. So what you're saying is evil infects innocent children because their parents were evil. Well, fuck you and all of that. But what it definitely does is it contradicts your claim that cancer doesn't impact good people, because the babies are good people, definitionally innocent by you, and they get cancer, which means you lied again when you said that even under your view, good people don't get cancer. You're incredibly confused, Carlos. You couldn't argue your way out of a wet paper bag, and you're not a decent person. I hope you find out how to be a decent person. Because that's not the way.
I thought he was going to go the Christian route and say babies get cancer because they're born in sin or something like that. And I would have asked, then why do only certain babies, if it's a consequence of sin, why do only certain babies get it? But he couldn't even get that far.
Yeah, it's really weird. All right, let's try again, because we've got some atheists and agnostics on hold, but here's someone calling. Michael's calling from Oregon. Pronouns are him. Is spiritual, who wants to define what a soul and what a God is. So, hey, Michael, how are you?
That's Mose. How are you today?
I've been better.
All right.
So what's your definition of soul? And then I guess we'll get to God.
I was being specific. I don't really have an agenda. I'm more of a reflector. However, a soul. Okay, the definition of a God. Do you have a definition of God?
Michael, didn't we go through this last fucking week?
I'm just trying to last more than 10 seconds, man.
Okay. Then what question?
I'm
Then
trying
what
not to
question? Then
offend
what?
you
Then what?
with
Then what?
triggers.
Then what? What question did I just ask you before? Didn't we go through this last week? What question did I ask you at the start of the call?
Soul and God.
Then didn't I ask you to define soul, and then we would get to God?
Okay, soul.
Isn't that what I asked you?
Soul. Yes.
Then please define soul.
Soul is the sovereign ionized light energy that a body creates that is yours and yours only. Mine is blue, transparent, and it's the same shape as this body. Did you get that?
Oh, I got it. Define God, please.
Matt, you're killing me.
God is a man that has a power attach itself to him and gives him supernatural attributes.
Are we aware of any God?
I am aware of one God in the flesh.
Who's that?
I'm trying to avoid emotional triggers. However, currently I am the only one in the flesh that I know of.
Okay, so you're saying you're God.
A man with
That was a yes or no.
power. Yeah, I'm God. I'm God.
Okay. What supernatural attributes do you have?
I can see great distances in time. I can send you subconscious downloads. I can walk through timelines. I can take you with me. I can help you get back to your higher self.
What's involved in you taking me on a trip through timelines?
Well, these are lower timelines, and these are fragments of your soul.
What's involved? What do I have to do to have you take me through a timeline?
You need to appeal to your higher self.
I don't know what that is. Do you and I need to be in the same place, or can we do it right now, right here?
We are doing it right now.
You are not walking me through another timeline right now.
This is over 1,000 this year. Now,
no.
When you
Michael, I'm not walking through another timeline right now.
Okay. It's okay. Beliefs can't be debated, but we can share.
No. Beliefs absolutely can be debated. Claims can be debated. When you say you can send me subconscious downloads, what do you mean?
I can send you knowledge.
Okay, send me knowledge right now.
Me too, please.
Yep,
count me
us up.
Oh, you got it. You have a lot.
I need knowledge that you sent me, not the stuff I already have. I know what I've already got. You're going to send me a subconscious download. Do it.
It's been done.
Okay. What did you send me? Because I don't feel like I got anything.
Are you an earth being or are you a universal being?
As far as I can tell, I'm an earth being.
Okay, then you have a collective subconscious and you get
I don't believe there is a collective subconscious. What did you send me in this download?
I have it all. There's like 500,000 things I have documented on here.
I'm sorry, Michael. Michael, listen very carefully. I'm sitting here right now live, and so is Brady, and so is our entire audience. Are you able to send a subconscious download to everybody watching this right now?
Absolutely.
How long would it take?
I've already sent them. You just have to
put up a poll. Put up a poll. I'm going to put you back in the queue, and we're going to take a poll. And everybody, please be honest. I am in no mood for fucking with. We're going to poll and see what percentage of the audience thinks you sent them a download. I'll put you back in the queue, and we'll move on to real people. Okay. While we wait for the poll to see how many of you are going to be honest about receiving a subconscious download from Michael, we'll take some other calls. Chris, pronouns he, him from Georgia, is an atheist. Wants to talk something about Philbros are wrong and which type of logic. Oh boy. Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight?
Terrible.
Pretty good. I'm good on my end.
Yeah, the past couple of calls have been pretty rough.
You gonna fix that, or you gonna make it worse?
I just had a question about like when the Philbro guys call in, and they usually use like modal logic arguments and S5, and I know you reject that, and I'm getting into learning logic, and I was just wondering why the type of logic that those guys use would be inferior or like less reliable to the types that you use, like propositional logic and stuff.
Do you know the difference between deduction, induction, and abduction?
Very roughly.
I would recommend going to study that. Modal logic is about, I don't know, possibilities, probabilities, and it makes use of supposedly possible worlds. So deductive reasoning is when you have a hard syllogism that would be, here are these premises, they lead to a conclusion. If the premises are accepted, you must accept the conclusion. Otherwise, you are in violation of the principles of logic. Inductive reasoning is what we tend to use in science. It is about making observations and observing evidence and making predictions about what's going to happen based on what has happened before. Induction and inference and things like that. And abductive reasoning is when you argue towards the best explanation. Deductive reasoning is solid. Inductive is flimsier. And abductive is flimsier. It is, here's our best guess at what's going on. And quite often it's very effective because we know a lot. And in areas where we have a lot of candidate explanations, abductive reasoning can be likely. Modal logic is, I think, weaker than all of those. And so I have zero interest in whether or not a being is possible or is necessary in some possible world. I care what's actually in this world and what's demonstrable in this world, and I'm not convinced that the S5 system is going to get you there.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I can understand that. I'll definitely look into this some more. That does clear it up for me a bit. Thank you very much.
Sure. I also have no expertise in modal logic, and so you'll probably find somebody that'll be able to explain to you exactly how and why I'm wrong. But I can only go by what I understand.
All right. Got it. Thank you, guys. Hopefully the night goes better for you.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Bring Michael back in. Hey, Michael, we had a poll in chat and only about 326 votes, even though there's well over 1,000 people watching, but 91% of them said they did not receive your subconscious download. Are they lying?
No, they're not lying. That's what they perceive.
So were
However,
you lying?
I
Were
did
you
put
lying
it
when
in
you
the
said?
chat.
Were you lying? Were you lying when you said you could send it to everybody?
I wrote in the chat what I sent, and then you talked about it. It was logic versus emotional desire. If you go up on the chats, that's what I put, and then that's what you talked about. Should we move forward?
No. 91% of the people said they didn't receive your subconscious download, and I didn't receive a subconscious download, and yet you said you could send it to all of us.
I'm curious. Would you know that it was sent?
I'm sorry, you're the one that claimed you could do it. Are you suggesting you can do it without us knowing it?
It's called a sub.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Download.
I'm sorry. I'm
Would
sorry.
you be
Are you saying?
conscious
I'm sorry.
of that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are you saying you could do it without us knowing it? Then what fucking good is it to tell us you did it? If I can't tell the difference between you doing it or not doing it, then you have a useless, untestable claim. God.
If I am using purpose, then it doesn't matter if I claim my actions. I use the golden rule, which is,
Michael,
if you knew what I knew, I hope you give it to me this way. I'm of
Jesus
purpose and logic.
Christ. Michael, can you do anything that would allow us to detect that you are God?
Well, I've had my family murdered. I've had my pets fed to me. I've dug up.
Ban that fucking number.
Wow. What a night. What a night. Oh my gosh. When he started talking about the definition of a soul, I was kind of like, that's just an interesting idea. Ionized, what did he say, light? And it, like, we don't know like the full definition of consciousness and how it arises, different brain states and all this. I'm interested in just ideas. That crazy part of me is interested. Then when he said mine is blue, that's when I knew
It's blue
we were on a whole nother.
and shaped the same shape as his body.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody take
They're
down
out
that
there.
number. We should probably schedule a wellness check.
They're out there. Wow.
I've got it. I got the number. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night's wildness. Are there any, I don't know, rational, sane believers who would like to explain what Brady and I have missed? Or are you just going to leave it to Carlos and Michael? Who's between the two of them, they've got like maybe a pinky touching reality. And I don't say that to be a dick. This is like absolutely wild. I get that we've talked about how the apologists have all given up. They know they're not going to come up with new evidence. They know they don't have a good argument. But I tried to skip past all that and say, you know what? Let's just assume that your God is real. What do you know about what that God thinks? That's kind of the question we were asking Carlos repeatedly. How do you know what God's rules are? Like, I'm not even asking you to demonstrate that a God exists. I'm already convinced that you almost certainly can't do it, no matter how confident you are. Oh, I can prove it to you right now. Cool, do it. Ta-da! Sorry, you didn't prove anything. I can send you I have a supernatural attribute, or I can send you a subconscious download. Okay. I really wish you'd have told me ahead of time that I'm not going to know you did it.
You know what it's like, Matt? It's almost like, scary movies they realized that it's better for them not to show you the actual thing and just to put you in a bunch of scenarios where the music is doing what it's doing, and but you have to add the scary thing in your own mind. You have to, they basically let you scare yourself. And when when Carlos was talking, you have to be in the presence of the prophet to know. Well, how would I know what to, like, what's the prophet going to do to let me know? Oh, that's what the thing is. He's not going to tell you that. You just have to be in his presence. And then when you're in his presence, you'll do the work in your own mind. Was it this? I bet it was that. When that happened, was it? Was that it? Same thing with Michael. I'm sending you the download now. Did you send it? Well, did you feel it? Like, you do the work in your own mind because they can't show you the thing. And for some people, this is how superstition works. It's like you can do one of two things. You can be a victim of the superstition, or you can be a pusher of the superstition. And I think people like Carlos thinks he's chosen the better of the two. I'm going to push the superstition. I'll be the prophet. You all be the parishioners. But they can never show you the thing that they want you to worship.
Yeah. No, Destronia, I don't think Michael was a troll. I think Michael was someone who was or needs to be medicated. I hope he gets help.
Hmm.
This is so wild. All right, we got a couple other agnostic callers. All right, I'm going to have to reboot my brain a little bit. So let's see if we can kind of clear this up. Shia from North Carolina, pronouns he, him, the hard problem of consciousness and how it relates to the existence of a general God. Okay.
Hello?
Are you calling to ask something or teach something or what?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, I'm not like the most well versed on this. I usually, when I have these types of conversations, I'm arguing more so for atheism. I'm a huge fan of this whole show thing. Have you ever heard of like this? It's really stupid. I kind of just learned it through YouTube and think it's cool to apply here, and I just want to have a basic conversation about it, if that's okay. It's a panpsychism.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess something that can kind of be used to like describe this type of God would be like the Vedic texts of Hinduism, like Advaita Vedanta. You were like very strict physicalist, right?
No. But until somebody demonstrates something beyond beyond the natural world, I don't have any reason to believe it.
Yeah.
So I'm right now, I don't think that anything beyond the natural world exists. I have difficulty actually calling my position physicalism, because there's a difference between philosophical naturalism, which is that the natural world is all that exists, which is what I would view as physicalism, and then methodological naturalism, which is the natural world exists, and if something else exists, it hasn't been demonstrated yet, which I don't know it's fair to call that physicalism, but that's more where I'm at.
That's understandable. Well, I think the whole like physical, non-physical distinction isn't really like a supernatural one necessarily. Like I'm sure you've heard of things like Annie's room.
Annie the color?
I don't know if you've heard of Annie's room.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, like let's say there's this girl named Annie that's stuck in a room for 100 days, and you give her all of the facts about the color red. She'll still never
Mary the
have
color
the same
scientist
knowledge.
is the other thing. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard it as Annie's room. I've literally done videos on this. If Mary the color scientist, who's been locked in a room not for 100 days but for her entire life, and has been taught,
might be Mary. Yeah, sure. Sorry.
But it's not 100 days. 100 days wouldn't accomplish this. It has to be someone who's never seen color, but has studied and learned everything there's to know about color. This is the argument for qualia. that upon seeing color for the first time, they learn something new. And my response is they don't learn anything new about the color. They learn, if anything, learn something new about themselves, about what it's like to experience seeing color. Which, if you include that in what they had already learned, if that counts as something that they know about the color, then no, they're not learning anything new. I reject qualia as a concept, but yeah.
You reject qualia as a concept.
Yes, I don't think it's real.
That makes sense. That's understandable. Basically, the whole line I was going to go on where it comes to like this hard problem of consciousness or the existence of qualia was going to be like, if there is some argument for the fundamental nature of consciousness as a like transcendent property of matter, then I think it wouldn't be even slightly similar to any monotheistic god, but the largest amalgamation, not even amalgamation, the largest, most complex combination of conscious matter, I would say, could be a fair definition for God.
Okay.
For that, through that definition, it would also definitionally have omnipresence. I think it would have probably just omnipresence. It wouldn't be all powerful or anything. It's kind of just like the observation. Like that also
would it be powerful at all?
Argument.
I don't even think I don't even think it would count as an agent. I mean, to me at this point, you're stretching. I mean, I'm not going to reject everything that doesn't just dump right into the God of classical theism. But I have zero interest in useless gods. The God of deism, the God that deists point to, that's a useless God. It's untestable. It's unfalsifiable. It doesn't interfere or interact with anybody in existence. And whether it exists or not is something that is completely irrelevant on my life and on everybody's life, by definition, a non-intervening God. If you want to say that qualia or some sort of panpsychism of a permeating consciousness or quasi-consciousness that is the substance of everything, I not only don't see any reason to think that's true, I don't see any reason to call it God, and I largely don't give a fuck because I don't see how it impacts my life.
It sounds like a reversal of the God of the gaps.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Brady.
No, real quick. I'm just saying. It sounds like a reversal.
Yeah.
It sounds like a reversal of the God of the gaps. Like God of the gaps is all the things we don't know. Let's call that God. Sounds like what you're saying is all the things that we do know. Okay, let's call that God.
Well, I don't think it's all the things that we do know. It's more of an answer to a very hot topic philosophical issue, the hard problem of consciousness. Well, I don't know about if the pantheistic nature of it would be, but generally attributing consciousness to be a transcendent state of matter, fundamentally, as in the nature of the world around us, would solve the difference between this amalgamation of just brain chemical reactions that somehow produces like the taste of a cheeseburger. You know, like it doesn't seem to make sense, and it answers that philosophical question.
Why call it God?
I mean, you don't have. Yeah, I agree. I actually have a friend that I talk to about stuff like this a lot, and he agrees fully. He has that exact take. He says, "Why would you ever call that God?" And honestly, I might even agree too, because most theists would look at that and then be like, you know, you're fake. You're whatever, heretic. That's the word. It's like I'm not trying to rep theism. Really, I'm trying to dismantle physicalism.
Well, why are you trying to dismantle physicalism if it can't be done?
It's not like empirically or methodologically provable, but you can formulate arguments, I think, that like really do not coincide with physicalist worldviews. And I think arguments can be used as evidence, depending on how good they are.
Okay, you're wrong, but you can accept an argument. The evidence is the actual data. The argument is essentially a structure that points to the data and makes a claim, and you either accept it or you don't. But when you talked about, for example, the taste of a cheeseburger, I reject the notion that there is a specific taste of a cheeseburger. even for a specific cheeseburger. Like if I make a cheeseburger and I take a bite of it and you take a bite of it, not only do I think there's no reason to think that every portion of a cheeseburger tastes the same. I don't know that it would taste the same to me, but I definitely don't have any reason to think that you and I are both detecting the taste of a cheeseburger as if a cheeseburger has a specific taste. Taste is something we're imbuing based on our physical interactions with the actual cheeseburger. Where do we get something real that isn't the physical nature of the cheeseburger or our sense data sending information to our brain to invent a taste?
Yeah, so that's also another thing is that a materialist would just say that it's an illusion, that the taste of the cheeseburger isn't real, that there is no consciousness in the first place to be had. It's just your brain tricking you into thinking you're conscious for like evolutionary reasons or whatever, in this case, to taste the cheeseburger.
I don't think that consciousness has anything to do with it. I think I can be conscious and there still isn't such a thing as a taste of a cheeseburger.
Well, I mean, for the individual, I'm not saying objectively the taste of a cheeseburger, but like for the individual subjectively, that person is tasting a cheeseburger.
Okay. My position is I don't see that it's a problem for me to say I'm an individual, I'm conscious, and a cheeseburger doesn't have some intrinsic taste. And I mean, whether or not a cheeseburger has intrinsic taste is not in any way tied to whether or not I'm conscious or whether or not consciousness is an illusion.
Well, the statement about whether or not and how that refers to whether or not consciousness is an illusion is just this. The hard problem of consciousness is about qualia specifically, and how it doesn't really make sense for a lot of philosophers of consciousness to put a bunch of matter together and spawn subjective human experience. Like you put it's literally like adding 2 + 2 and getting
I'm sorry that it doesn't make sense to them. Maybe they have a flawed understanding of what it means to make sense. But I don't.
Possible,
yeah, I reject qualia. But I find it wholly unsurprising that a brain that has evolved to create some perception of the world from the sense data it receives, it makes perfect sense that a sense like taste, smell, sight, touch, hearing, direction, all these things, that these are ways that a brain would describe its sense data. In some cases, we are detecting light. In some cases, we are detecting particles that are airborne. In some cases, we are detecting physical particles. In some cases, we are testing vibration or detecting vibrations.
Here's another way to put it, I think. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
You succeeded either way.
Yeah, if you want to continue, you can. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's also kind of the hard problem of consciousness is also kind of a question of why. Like why, when you taste a cheeseburger, does it happen to subjectively cause you the experience that it does? Why does this conscious experience arise in the way that it does? Why is the color blue the color blue? Why is the color blue not different in our eyes?
Because it is.
Basically.
I think the why question. I think the why question betrays a bias on the part of the person asking the question.
Yeah, I mean it's possible.
I mean, it all boils down to physics, and you instead of saying why does it taste the way it does, you might as well just say why is physics the way physics is. Is there any reason to think physics could be any other way? Or even if physics could be any other way, is there some reason to think that there's a goal or intent behind it being the way it is? Or is it just the way it is? I don't know what's wrong with saying that's just the way it is until somebody demonstrates that it has to be more than that.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Would you just reject the premise that there is a difference in? Well, yeah, you reject qualia entirely. You reject that You think it's just the chemicals, right? Basically.
It's a complex thing, but you're getting sense data and your brain is turning it into a perception, but perception isn't reality. And I don't see any reason to think there's something beyond that.
It's not really to say that perception is reality. It's to say that perception is imbued with reality and the two are inseparable.
Oh, I think your perception can be separated from reality. I think a couple of our previous callers tonight demonstrated that rather robustly.
I mean, I don't think you can interact with reality without having perception.
No, but I think you can have a perception of reality that is not accurate.
Are you familiar with the existence of a philosophical zombie?
I don't know. Is that like the actual physical locked-in syndrome, or is this something else?
I don't know if that's I think I might understand, and I think I might know what you're talking
about.
The
medical locked-in
this idea.
The medical locked-in syndrome is one where someone is consciously aware and perceiving reality, but cannot do anything to interact or communicate with anyone beyond at all.
So it's very similar. It's more to say that it is perceivable that a human could undergo every aspect that is evolutionarily required by them to, perceivably, an entire normal life, just non-conscious. Like why it's kind of a comment on this idea that like we could walk around, we could eat, we could just not have any mind to us, but we do, and that like necessitates like an explanation.
Sure.
Like, what would your answer to, like, why we evolved in a way that necessitated consciousness? Because we could evolve to in a way that, I don't know that we evolved in a way.
I don't know that we evolved. I don't know that we evolved in a way that necessitated consciousness. We just evolved in a way that produced consciousness. I don't know that it was necessitated at all.
Yeah. I actually see that.
You know, why did I evolve with fingernails?
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely have them. I have to trim them. They're really cool in the sense that they grow back to replace. So it's a durable thing. There's definitely a benefit to them. But once upon a time, I could do really good card tricks. In part because my hands had some grip, and I don't mean like grip strength. I mean like I can't snap my fingers as well anymore unless there's moisture on it. So this finger has a little moisture. Yeah. This one doesn't. Why did I evolve such that I would lose grip over time? Just because that's the way it is? That's entropy?
Yeah, it's a brute fact.
I mean, why did I evolve to not live forever? It is, these are questions that when you dig down, they betray some hidden bias that there's some intent or goal. Or that we're somehow special. And we are special to us. We're not special to the universe.
Yeah. I would agree, but I would agree for the reason that, like, even if we could have evolved in a way that doesn't, like, necessitate us being conscious, like, even if we could have the same physical processes and the same chemicals could fire in our brain, and that still wouldn't produce consciousness necessarily. It's just like an emergent factor.
Why wouldn't they, if that's what those chemicals do?
Yeah. Brady's question.
What?
How could it possibly be the case that the exact same chemicals are firing in the same way, but they don't produce consciousness if that's what those chemicals do?
That's basically the concept of a philosophical zombie, as I was trying to describe earlier. I'm not really super familiar with it. I haven't, like, read a lot on it. I'm just, like, loosely familiar with how it applies to the topic. And it's basically just this idea that there's nothing intrinsically tied, like between the chemical firings that happen in your brain and the subjective conscious experience, because of this idea that you can have all the same chemical firings all at the same time and still not be conscious, as demonstrated by, I guess, people with locked-in syndrome. I don't know.
No. The people with locked-in syndrome are conscious. That's how we know about the fucking syndrome.
That's actually, yeah, that's true, probably. Yeah, that was probably that. I will retract that so heavily. So
to whatever extent consciousness is a real thing, I find it absurd to say that this person is consciousness with these chemical things going on, and this person has exactly the same stuff going on in their brain, but they're not conscious. No, they don't.
Reject the idea that they can exist.
Yeah, I see no demonstration that exists. That's why, yeah, Brady's question was succinct. I don't know why I needed to add to it.
That was great.
Yeah, that's understandable then. I get that. I mean, yeah, that's all I really want to hear. Y'all, yeah, I'm sorry. I appreciate the time.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being rational. That was a nice change of pace.
All right. Yeah. I've rebooted my brain. and now we're going to get an atheist advocating for Christianity, I think, which is wild. So Jesse's calling. Is that Massachusetts? Pronouns are he, him, who's an atheist that says Christianity might produce a better system to live under, even if Christianity is incorrect. Okay. Hey, Jesse.
Hi. Hello?
Yep, we're here. When you say Christianity might produce a better system, are you saying might or does?
Well, can you point to me an atheist government that's currently in power that does better than what a Christian government would do as far as leading the people and, I don't know, their legislating of laws and stuff?
Yes. The government of the United States, the Constitution of the United States is a secular document that offers freedom of religion. It's not a Christian nation. We're not a Christian nation. And it offers freedom. We're not upholding that Constitution right now. We're actively violating it, and Christian nationalists are taking over and making things worse. Doesn't that debunk your entire premise?
You think Christian nationalists, you think the stuff that Trump and his office is doing is in the name of Christianity?
I think Project 2025, I think, is done in the name of some view of Christianity. There are other views of Christianity that aren't consistent with Christian nationalism and maybe aren't consistent with Project 2025. I just don't see where they're necessarily good or better or necessary. What is it that Christianity, any version, can offer us that is true and good that we can't get from something like secular humanism?
Well, the only thing I could point at is birth rates. I think that atheists
oh my God.
Generally, the most atheist nations, I think, have the lowest birth rates in the world.
Is that a bad thing?
And I think if you want your society to continue in a healthy manner, I think.
Why?
Why don't you want people to breed?
No, that's not. No. I'm not. You're saying that there's a problem with the birth rates. I'm not saying people shouldn't breed. People should breed if they want to breed, right?
Correct.
Okay. So is there anything about a secular humanist society that is not allowing people to breed if they want to breed?
No, that's totally free. But
so there's nothing about secular humanism that prevents people from breeding if they want to breed. So
correct.
How is that? How is it that Christianity would be better?
Well, Christians in America tend to have a lot more children than atheists.
I'm sorry. I asked a question and you gave me an answer that had absolutely nothing to do. I don't care who has more. More doesn't mean better. Correct. So let's make a point that is not irrelevant. You're saying Christianity would increase the birth rate, and I'm saying I'm not necessarily convinced that that's remotely true, but also I'm not convinced that that's good. I asked for an example of something true and good that we can only get from Christianity.
true and good that we could only get from Christianity? Honestly, the only thing I could come up with is just statistics. The statistics of the birth rates. Honestly,
okay.
I can't really. I mean, you're free to do what you want in your secular society, but the numbers don't bear out that those.
You don't have numbers. You don't have numbers on this, Jesse. You don't know what you're talking about, and you've been convinced of some absolute bullshit with regard to birth rate, such that even as an atheist, you're buying into Christian propaganda. So, since you can't produce anything, what are we going to talk about?
I mean, I guess you shut me down. There's really not much else to talk about.
Okay. Do better.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, we
That's
know
so
the Christian
weird.
nationalist talking point is having more children is good because we need to outbreed Islam. We need to outbreed, these other ideologies. That's why they would say it. I was curious why he would think it's better.
Yeah. I mean, China throttled their birth rate because they were increasing at too great a rate to allow it to be continued to be supported indefinitely by their available resources. They overcompensated, is my understanding. I have no expertise in this, but based on what I've read in the last couple of months, China overcompensated. And so now they're changing their policy and encouraging an increase in birth rate. And this is evidently terrifying to people who see a potentially declining birth rate in the United States and Western countries. And that's because you guys are stupid. That's because you are terrified of things you don't understand based on information you cannot back up. And you presume that you're able to determine, oh, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. First of all, you have no reason to think that the natural extinction of the human species is a bad thing. Oh, it's definitely bad for the humans. But is it bad for the universe? Is it bad for the other life on Earth? I don't know. Yeah. And I still would like to see humans persist and continue. But I don't think declining birth rate is what's going to take us out. I think Trump and people like that are going to take us out. I think the oligarchs, the elite, the Epstein class, the people who are focused on profit and depriving citizens of reasonable health care, reasonable wages, just so that they can be richer than everybody else who's ever existed. Yeah. I think that's the problem. And I don't think that, and once upon a time, I would have thought that Christianity would oppose that. Because what's the root of all evil? The love of money. You got a pope that's calling them out for it. But birth rates declined to whatever extent it's declined, irrespective of the religion of the individuals. Christianity doesn't fix that, even if it were a problem, and it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Well, you do have the be fruitful and multiply mandate that somebody could take and say, we've got a command to do this now.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you have to keep tying it back into, because of where we are in our country, the idea that there are very many people on the right, the white Christian nationalists, that says we're being outbred not just by Islam, but whites are going to become less and less of a majority in this country. We've got to fix that. And so that's behind it as well.
Yeah, I decided we'd end that call since he gave up before we got to his, I'm going to bet clearly white supremacist background behind some of what he's advocating for. My take is, and there's no reason why anybody should listen to this or care what my take is, but since I'm here, catfish tend to eat and grow to fill the enclosure they're in. So in a big lake, you can get incredibly huge catfish. I mean, huge. I'm afraid to quote numbers because I have no idea what the largest catfish ever killed was. But I have an uncle who was a diver who would go down and kill the huge catfish that were causing problems with dams and stuff. I think humans are one of those species that are going to breed until the resources force them to stop breeding. And then the breeding will go into a state of decline until the surplus encourages more breeding. I think the things that are going to take us out are climate change, nuclear war, and the rich.
And the CDC under your guy.
Yep.
Biggest catfish ever caught, by the way, was 9 feet 6 inches.
Yeah. Isn't that huge?
9 feet 6, 146 pounds, I think it said.
Yeah. That's nuts. By the way, we breed snakes. Snakes tend to keep growing for their entire lives, but after they reach a certain length, they grow like millimeters a year or whatever. But we have downstairs, I want to weigh her. We've got her on a diet, but we have a Bruddle's carpet python, or Bredley's carpet python, if you want to be picky with somebody. That is the fattest fucking carpet python I've ever seen. Like, it's absolutely wild. She's about 8 feet long, and like that, like not quite big as your head. And the guy that I got her from named her Void because she was an endless void. No matter how many rats he'd throw her, she'd just keep eating them. And I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You know, in the wild, they don't just live in a pit with rats being thrown at them all day. They move around a lot more. You know, you gotta be healthy. All right. Hey, we've got a theist. So here we go. Marcos from New Zealand is calling pronouns are he, him. And he says, precognition in a manuscript could prove God. Hey, Marcos, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks you. Nice talking to you, Matt.
It says you're calling from New Zealand. I got to visit New Zealand one time and absolutely loved it. So you guys have a very relaxed relationship with time. Like nobody's in a hurry there that I saw.
Nice. Yeah, everybody's pretty relaxed here. We've got a beautiful view and we've got a beautiful beaches, and it's nice.
Yeah,
Everyone
I had fun. I went to Paraha, the black sand beach, and I went to Waitomo glowworm caves and Hobbiton, of course, while I was there. But so you're saying, or maybe you're wondering if precognition in a manuscript could prove God. How would you demonstrate precognition in a manuscript, and then why would it prove a God?
Yes, okay. So it's going to require a little bit of context to explain it. Do you know the American prophet, you don't believe in prophets,
Casey?
But the acclaimed prophet Ellen White?
I don't. The name sounds a little familiar, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, so let me explain the context of this manuscript. On March of 1891, if I got it right, I don't remember the day exactly, she appeared in after a meeting of the American magazine editors, the American Sentinel magazine, and she said she saw 5 months.
This is the
before,
founder of Seventh-day Adventist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm doubting my religion, but I am still a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
I
knew the name was familiar.
She said she saw the meeting that they had the night before, and she claimed she saw it on November of the last year, 1890, and she said that she also had manuscripts that could prove it. And if you read the manuscripts leading up to that point in 1999, there is a manuscript 4 months before the meeting that she describes the intentions of the editors to dropping the Sabbath and the Seventh-day Adventist name from the magazine. 4 months before that meeting to discuss that occur. How else could she known if that if God didn't show her?
So your argument is, it appears that she got something right, and how else could she have known if it wasn't God? What makes you think it could possibly be God?
Well, she said it was God. Second,
I don't care.
Precognition is not something that naturally happens.
Does someone claiming that it's God mean that it's possible it was God?
Oh, why? If there's something supernatural, why not?
No. You haven't. So at no point have we demonstrated that it was supernatural or that anything supernatural is possible. And we're trying to list candidate explanations for how she could have gotten something right, assuming that she did. And I just did a video. I don't even know if it's live to the public yet, but it's about candidate explanations. You don't get to say something supernatural until you demonstrate that it's supernatural. And you don't get to claim that God is a candidate explanation until you demonstrate that God is possibly a candidate explanation. So what we have is Ellen White making a claim, and it seems, perhaps, we would have to review a specific claim and all the evidence for it, that she's claiming she got information about a meeting 4 months before the meeting and that she has documented it. And we need a way to explain that. Why is God a candidate explanation?
What other explanations there could be? Like,
I'm sorry, that's literally a logical fallacy. You're exercising this logical fallacy of you can't think of any other explanation. I'm saying, why do you get to consider the one you're thinking of a possibility? For example, how did you rule out time travel?
It seems awfully specific for a time traveler to have revealed this information to her. Like,
no.
What purpose would it serve? But if you assume a God that cares about people,
Marcos. What he's saying is not that a time traveler revealed it to her. How did you rule out that she herself did not travel into the future and then come back and write what she saw? How did you rule that out?
Well, that seems awfully specific, doesn't it?
Are you for real, Marcus? Because this is beyond silly. We've led you to the point of fallacies, and we've asked you how you ruled out time travel, and your answer seems to be it's too specific to be time travel. So when it's too specific, or time travel is too specific, I don't know what you're saying. Which is a time traveler not going to know? Like if I went back in time to 4 months ago, and I wrote down that on April 8th, we're going to get a call from Marcus in New Zealand talking about Ellen White and her predictions. And you called in, and before you said anything, I said, hey, 4 months ago, I wrote down this prediction. And it's because I'm a time traveler. You're going to say that's too specific. It's more likely God.
Well, if a person claims to be something, like if a person, I don't want you to get too much into the philosophy of a person claiming to be something.
No. I'd like you to answer my question instead of avoiding it, because I no longer think you're a serious person at all. I think you're a fraud.
I'm sorry. Why am I a fraud?
Okay. It's really easy. I literally just asked you if, when you had called in, I said, I wrote down what this call was going to be about 4 months ago, and it's because I'm a time traveler. I asked you, would you then tell me that my explanation is too specific? And instead of me being a time traveler, you think God told me.
Well, if you said you were a time traveler and you got evidence for it, then I would consider it as a valid explanation.
I'm sorry. you're only going to consider my explanation that I'm a time traveler if I have evidence for it, but you'll accept that it's a god when you don't have evidence for it. Why the double standard?
I don't say there's evidence for it. Like I said, there's a manuscript waiting 4 months before.
No, okay. I can't take you seriously anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering if he's having a hard time connecting the dots. Is Matt being right about what he says he got from 4 months in the future? Is that not evidence that he went to the future?
If he got evidence for it, like a manuscript that could be proven to be written.
That's what
his whole analogy or his whole example was he went to the future, he came back, and when you called in, he told you, hey, I've got this manuscript that I wrote down because I just came back from the future and I know what you called in about. You called in about Ellen White, and I said, look here, I wrote it. Would that count as evidence for you?
Yeah, if it would count as evidence, if the manuscript could be proven to be written 4 months ago.
How did Ellen prove that her manuscript was written 4 months prior?
Well, she didn't use it right away. But
I'm sorry, Marcos.
Wait.
How did Ellen prove that her manuscripts were written 4 months prior?
She wrote it in Lynn, Massachusetts, and that's where she was visiting 4 months
how did
before.
How did she prove that her manuscripts were 4 months old? Like when did she walk into that meeting with manuscripts in hand, ready to show them right away? Or after the meeting was over, did she produce manuscripts that she said were 4 months old? I'm sorry.
Well,
only one of two. I'm sorry, Marcus. I know this is really difficult for you because you're finding out that either I've busted you as a fraud or what you believe is being busted as a fraud. But if she did not show up to that meeting with the manuscript in hand, she's a con artist and a liar, and it's a common magic trick to only produce it after the fact. Because if I knew what was going to be said at a meeting, and I wrote it down 4 months ago, and then I went to the meeting, I would bring that fucking manuscript with me. And the second they started talking, I would hold it up in the air where everybody could see it. And when they were done talking, I would hand the manuscript to one of the people and say, I've been holding this up in front of you the entire meeting. I wrote it 4 months ago. Read what it says. That's how you would demonstrate that, at least partially. There's still a way to fake that. As a magician, I have to admit that. But that's how you would do something honestly. To show up at that meeting without the manuscript that has the transcript of that meeting means you're a liar and a fraud.
Yeah, I don't know if she brought the manuscript to the meeting. She showed up the day before after the meeting. She said she had a vision. It's just that she could have faked it, but nobody ever cares about this.
Marcus, so you just admitted she could have faked it. When we list the candidate explanations, one is she faked it. Number two is what and why? Why do we consider anything other than that right now?
Okay. The manuscript, if she faked it, why the manuscript isn't more
now you're just making excuses. You're ignoring the question that I asked because somewhere in your conscious or unconscious, you realize that you're about to have to admit how absolutely wrong you are. And so instead you're asking a different question so that your brain can deflect from the obvious. You admitted she might have faked it. What other possible explanation is there other than she faked it?
She was she was very, very lucky.
Okay. What other possible explanation was there?
God told her.
Why is that a possible explanation?
She claims God told her, and she got.
That does claiming something. Does claiming something mean it's possible?
No, but if you've got evidence for it.
No. So no. Listen, Marcos, stop. Stop adding to it. This is incredibly defensive on your part. I asked you, what other possible explanation was there? You said God could have told her. And I asked you, how do we know that's possible? And your answer was, because she said God told her. And I said, does her claiming God told her mean it's possible? And you said no. So now we have to go back and say, why do you claim it's possible that God told her?
I would say it again. She got a manuscript that was written 4 months before. 4 months before.
Marcos, I'm sorry that your brain is defending you from. I'm sorry that your brain is defending you from having to admit the obvious. But my question is, why do you get to say that a possible explanation is that God did it? Where is your evidence that it is possible that a God gave her this information?
I could. I am sorry, Matt. I am like stuck in this physical realm. I can't see the mental cognition.
I'm sorry. I didn't ask you whether you're stuck in a physical realm. I seem to be stuck in a physical realm full of people who will not answer the question. And my question is, what is the justification for claiming that God is a possible explanation for her having this information? That all rhymed, by the way. I get bonus points.
If no other, okay, I will go to this. If no other explanation is possible, then
no, Marcus.
You just gave us
no. Please stop it. I'm going to give you one last fucking chance to answer the question instead of avoiding it, or I'm going to hang up on you. What is the justification for claiming that God is a possible explanation for her having that information?
I don't know.
Correct. If you don't know, then isn't it irrational and unwarranted for you to claim that it's so?
It's just that
I'm sorry. My question, Marcos, that your brain is once again defending you from. If you don't know how it's justified that a God gave her this information, then you are irrational to assert without warrant that it's possible, correct?
I wouldn't say it's without a warrant. I mean,
Marcos, do you know what when I asked you what the justification is, that's me saying, what is the warrant for considering this a candidate explanation? What is the justification? Justification is fucking warrant. So if you don't have justification for claiming that it could possibly be God, then you are either lying or irrational when you assert that it could be God, right?
Like I said, it's the lack of other explanations that leads me to bring that information. That
Marcos, you just said that it's possible. Marcos, you just said it's possible that she could be faking it. So you can't say there's no other possible explanation. And the question I would have, if you said it's possible and you can't explain why God is possible, why is God more, not just possible, why is that more probable than the explanation that you just said is possible? She's faking is possible. You can't explain why God is possible. So why is God more probable than the explanation that you just said is possible?
Well, then you have to see how could she fake it? How could she fake
I've
the
already
document?
explained.
The
I've
document?
already explained how she could fake it, but I'm not going to teach you every magic trick, because right now your brain is in completely irrational defense mode, where you are so terrified of admitting that you don't have a good reason for thinking it's possible, God. You are trying to come up with every fallacious excuse you can to maintain some hope of that belief. Stop it. Just be rational.
So what should I do with that information? Just assume
You should
she
stop.
faked it
You should
with
stop
no evidence for it?
believing. You should stop believing that it's possible that a God gave her this information until you have a good reason to think it's possible that a God gave her that information.
Or Marcos, how about you do this?
Isn't a manuscript written 4 months before a good reason? Or
Marcos, you don't have evidence. I'm gonna stop after this because Brady's been trying to say something. You don't have evidence that the manuscript was written 4 months earlier. You have a claim which you can't demonstrate, you can't investigate, and you've already admitted could be faked. She didn't present it at the meeting, as far as you know. You have nothing but a fucking story, and you are so attached to this story that your brain is tying itself in knots right now to avoid admitting that you don't have any good reason to think that a God did it. It's sad.
Marcos, let me add this. Have you ever heard of the outsider test of faith?
Outsider test of faith?
Yes. Have you ever heard of that before?
Parts of it, I guess.
Okay. So let me just say this. One of the things you asked, what should you do with this idea that she's had this manuscript for 4 months? Here's what you can do. Do the same thing to the religion that you're inside of that you would do to religions that you are on the outside of. What would you say if another religion, a God that you don't believe in, but their prophet had a similar claim of a precognition in writing? What would you do to somebody who made this claim from a religion that you're not inside of? You're on the outside looking at it. Would you readily just assume, oh, then their God must be God? Or would you say there must be some naturalistic explanation for this claim they're making, or the claim is not true?
I haven't seen another.
I'm not asking you if you've seen. I'm not asking you if you've seen. I'm asking you, what would you do if you heard the claim from a religion that you are not on the inside of? The outsider test of faith is treat the faith that you're on the inside of the same way that you treat faiths that you're on the outside of, and see if it's just as easy to believe it.
Well, I cannot do that right now because I am already inside my religion. And
I understand that.
God.
It's a thought experiment, Marcos.
Your
It's a thought experiment.
Your brain is incapable of processing a hypothetical, which is why you couldn't process the hypothetical of me claiming that I was a time traveler. Something has happened to you at some point in the defense of some absolute bullshit religions where you are now incapable of even considering a hypothetical. Do you have any imagination at all?
I like to think I do.
Okay. Imagine that I'm a time traveler. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Now that you're imagining I'm a time traveler, imagine that I just showed up and presented you with a document describing this call explicitly. Would you believe that I'm a time traveler based on that?
If you could demonstrate I was written before, if you could demonstrate I was written before, then yes.
Okay. Why do you put criteria on my claim that you don't put on your claim with regard to Mary's claim?
Ellen White.
Or Ellen White. Sorry.
I already put criteria. She has a manuscript that's dated for 4 months before the meeting occurred. That's
I can date my manuscript whatever I want, right?
Yes, but not before you were born.
Okay, we've now entered incredibly dishonest and or stupid time, Marcos, and I can't take anymore.
I'm sorry if I offended you in any way. Or
you didn't offend me. You didn't offend me. You didn't offend me. Your brain is broken on behalf of a religion, and it's preventing you from being honest or evaluating claims honestly, which is why your last step of defense was to joke. You are engaged in special pleading. You are taking Ellen White's claim at face value with no investigation and no justification, and concluding that because you personally can't come up with a better explanation, even though you admit it's possible she faked it, and you admit that you don't have any reason to think it's possible that God did it, you're still going to go with God did it as the most likely explanation. And when I give you an example of a direct analog to that, you want to try and claim, well, if you could prove it, cool. You have no proof. You are in an embarrassing cycle right now, and this is a great call.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome on the internet. People are going to watch this and see exactly what happens to a brain that is so polluted by nonsense that it cannot even evaluate a fallacy or a hypothetical honestly. Every single question that would have exposed the problem, the questions that Brady and I work with, because we've done this for a while, your brain deflected like you're some fucking Jedi swatting away shots from a drone so that you can say, but what else could it be? But what if she had evidence? But what if this? What if this? It is a level of delusion that I thank you for putting on display, because your call will be the example for why we can't get any rational defenses of religion. This is what religions do to a functioning brain. They fill it full of bullshit because maybe there's some hope there.
Or fear.
Okay, Matt. What should I have done?
I already told you. I told you. You should not reach a conclusion that isn't warranted. And so when you hear Ellen White's story, you haven't investigated it. You don't even know the details. You don't know if she showed up to the meeting with those. You've not seen the documents. You have not done anything to verify that they were written 4 months ago. You are believing a story, and which is your first fucking mistake. You shouldn't believe the story. But if you believe the story and you start making a list of candidate explanations, you should only list those things that you know to be a candidate explanation, which means she got lucky, she lied. I know of no other candidate explanations off the top of my head. I don't consider time travel a candidate explanation. I don't consider gods a candidate explanation. I don't consider aliens or some technology from off of Earth a candidate explanation. And yet I don't know that any of those are impossible. And so when somebody asks me, how did Ellen White do this? My first response is, I'm not convinced that she did anything, because all I have is a story. But if she did what she said she did, I don't know how she did it.
Oh, okay. I would like to have an investigation about this. Like I said, I am doubting my own religion right now, and
you should be.
But this story and this document that was written 4 months before, like I said, it's what is
Marcos. Stop saying this document that was written 4 months before. Start saying the document that they claim was written 4 months before. Anyone can claim anything. Real quick, Matt, you're frozen on the vertical. Marcos, give yourself permission. You asked Matt a minute ago, what can you do? Matter of fact, I second what Matt said in terms of how sad this is. But really, what's sad to me is you said when I asked you the question, Marcos, you said, how can I look at it from the outside? I'm already on the inside. But here's the thing, Marcos. You can give yourself permission to step outside of it, to try to take as objective a view as you can. Grant yourself permission to stop saying the document that was written 4 months prior. Start saying the document that they claim was written 4 months prior, and realize that anyone can claim anything. Respect yourself enough to say, why should I believe it just because someone said it? You got to be kind to yourself and give yourself room, permission, grace to ask those kinds of questions, to step outside of the religion that was handed to you and ask those kind of penetrating questions. That's what you can do.
Yeah, I would take the advice. I would just like to have an investigation about this, like Ellen White and Seventh-day Adventism and their supernatural claims are not very seen in the outside world, are not very mainstream. And so you have these things repeated, and you have the white state that says the document was written 4 months before with no external investigation. And you kind of just believe it because there is no outside voice. There are niche topics.
Well, thank you for calling an outside voice. You should look up Edgar Casey and all the other people who claim to be prophets or claim to get messages, none of whom have been able to demonstrate that there's any truth to their claims. At best, you've got a weak magic trick that any decent mentalist nowadays could mimic. A common magic trick that was done for a period of time that was also, I don't know if it was as popular when Mary White was doing this, but it was something that people in spiritualist churches had done, and magicians would do, is they would put a prediction in an envelope and send it to the venue that they were going to be performing at through the mail, and have that person hang on to that envelope and not open it until the night of the performance, and it would be sealed. And then they would get up during the show and have them open the envelope, which has been in their possession for weeks, and read the predictions in there that everyone would see had come true about things that had happened in the world. Many magicians have done that. I've done things that are actually, I think, better than that now that we know how that one's done, but many magicians have done that. It's a magic trick. It's a lie. I don't have any reason to think that she wasn't doing something similar. If she did anything, like, we're still just talking about a story.
Yeah. Thank you. I would like to I would appreciate if there was more investigations into this topic with more debunking of any side.
Well, I assure you that these claims have been investigated as best they can by skeptics many times. Have you looked up debunking Ellen White?
Yeah, but these are mostly. There is one. There was one debunking Ellen White. Her name is Ellen White, not Mary White. Ellen White.
Yeah. Ellen G. White.
That was related to this story, but they could not explain the manuscript 16, 1980. That's the manuscript I said it was written 4 months before. They said it was likely that someone informed her that there would be dropping the Sabbath, but I think this is unlikely because of
I no longer care, Marcos, because I literally typed debunking Ellen G. White into Google, and I have a number of universities, Christian organizations, and skeptic organizations that have articles dating up to even last year on debunking Ellen White. The false Christ of Ellen White. Did Ellen White give failed prophecies? Who was Ellen White? Prophecy blunders of Ellen White, with the inspired prophet? Why do people think? There's tons of these articles. Have you read them all? Because I'm going to bet the answer is no.
I haven't read them all. I have read some.
Okay. At the end of the day, I don't know what other investigation somebody could do. How do you go back, unless you're a time traveler? How do you go back to the late 19th century and investigate how she did whatever she did?
Yeah, it's just that this is a very niche topic, even for Anna White. It's called the Salamanca experience. And it's giving us, some apologies for her, giving it as a truth for why she has supernatural powers.
No. Stories don't become more believable when it's further in the past and you can't investigate them. They become less believable. And the proof of this is really simple. Did Ellen White advocate for a real God?
Yes, definitely.
Does that God still exist?
I don't know. I believe he still does.
Okay. If that God still exists, why hasn't that God proven that Ellen White was not a fraud?
Because he wants people to have faith.
Then if he wants people to have faith, why did he reveal things to Ellen White in the first fucking place?
Because he wanted to test her. And because the last people of the last days needed a prophet. That's what they tell me, at least.
Why would they need a prophet? Why would they need a prophet if the prophecies can't be verified and God needs you to exercise faith?
They give her a bunch of prophecies that you need to have faith to believe, like the National Sunday Law, the persecution of the last days.
Okay, we're going to stop now, Marcus, because you've got an embarrassing excuse for every bit of it. What you're believing doesn't make any sense. Either God needs people to know something, in which case he has an obligation to validate the information, or God needs people to exercise faith and not give information. But if your God is giving information to someone and putting them in a situation where they can never verify that God gave them that information, your God's fucking with people. Your God is pranking people.
Yeah, honestly, I am a bit of misotheist. Like, I believe in God, but I see what this God does sometimes, and honestly, it freaks me out a little bit.
Cool.
That's why I
have you told God that? Have you told God that he's pissing you off?
Yeah, I.
What did God say?
Very loud in my mind. If he could read it. I wish God didn't exist. I wish God didn't exist, man.
Okay.
I wish God didn't exist.
Wish granted.
Yeah. But I know, then they have these stories. They tell me, I know, God does exist. Look what he done here. He given this girl a vision of a meeting 4 months before it occurred. Here's the proof. And here's proof. And here's proof. And I get fucking crazy with this story. I don't know what to believe anymore. Yeah.
If you don't know what to believe, if you don't know what to believe, the most important thing you can ask yourself is, why do I still feel compelled to believe it? Because I don't think belief is a choice. I think belief is something that you're convinced of. And you can be convinced for good reasons or bad reasons. And you've already acknowledged, essentially, that you're not convinced for good reasons. And that means that you're convinced for bad reasons. And I think that you're convinced because you're afraid of the consequences of not believing if you're wrong.
Yes, I am afraid of many bad stuff that can happen if I am wrong.
Yep. And that's how they keep people in belief. Because if they can't make any kind of demonstration, the only thing they have is a carrot and a stick, a promise of a wonderful afterlife or a terrible afterlife, and nothing in this life.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you at this point, Matt. I wish that there was more of an investigation to this story. I just found one, and it wasn't very convincing for me. Because of the manuscript, and I've been crazy about this manuscript. They say it was written 4 months before. They said it's a case of precognition, proves God, proves Ellen White, proves everything. And I'm here, just taking it. Just taking
Marcos,
it all in because I don't have a better explanation. Because I don't
Marcos,
have a better explanation.
Everybody in the chat. Let me see how many people are watching this right now, Marcos. We got close to 2,000 people, at least on the horizontal, maybe more on the vertical. Thousands of people right now, Marcos, are watching this and hoping better for you, hoping better than this. There's so much better for you than this. And you're not going to be alone if you challenge this and decide you demand better. You demand better evidence. You demand better reasoning. Like, you don't have to do this with your life. We all did it for different religions. We all did it. We came out of it. The ground didn't open up and swallow us. Lightning didn't strike. We want better for you, man.
I want you to take down one bit of information. Set aside all the arguments, all of the fallacies, all of the frustration of night. Contact recoveringfromreligion.org. They are not going to try to talk you out of your religion. They exist for people who are struggling with different religions, who have found their way out or who haven't found their way out. But you're not alone. You're not the only theist. You're not the only Christian. You're not the only Seventh-day Adventist who has had these questions, and they are the experts. My expertise is in arguing and calling out bullshit. I am not an expert in
That's why I
counseling people who are struggling with stuff, which is why at this point, we're going to let you go and move on to somebody else, but definitely reach out to Recovering from Religion. If you wind up with a stronger reason for your belief at the end of it, cool. At least you tried and you thought. But if you're just sticking with something because you're afraid, there are plenty of people who are going to help you realize you don't have to be afraid. Because if your God was going to punish someone for speaking out against him, wouldn't he punish me before you?
Yeah,
my dumbass is sitting here with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and people tuning in left and right. And I trash talk every fucking God and holy book and supernatural and spiritual bullshit out there. And yet I'm healthier than I've been in 30 years. I'm a little slower. But doesn't seem to be any God coming after me. It doesn't even seem to be interrupting my internet connection. It's more stable than ever.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I need
You're safe at least till he takes me out.
I need to take a step back, look at it with more skeptical eyes, have a more skeptical mindset.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at
100%.
Look at it with what's the name of the magic trick you mentioned, Matt? So I can see it. How people do it.
Just you can look up headline prediction. You can do magic trick headline prediction. There's a number of different versions. Not every magic trick has an official name or whatever else, but I'm reluctant to point you in that direction because while you'll find an answer, when I do magic shows and I do them to teach skepticism, I point out that I don't tell people how I do the tricks that I do, because if I tell you how I did it, then I run the risk of you thinking you know how it's done. And the reality is there's a bunch of different ways to do almost any magic effect that there is. And so if you learn one way, you've now only managed to solve one way. And if they manage to do the trick a different way and prove to you that they didn't do it the way I did, now you're even more likely to think that they're for real because you've conned yourself into thinking that you can't be fooled because you know how the trick's done. The reality is the tricks are done many, many, many different ways.
Yeah.
All right. We got to go, Marcos. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Keep thinking. Yeah. Give yourself permission to say, I don't know.
and Brady, thank you for the advice.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Good talking to you, man.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Thanks, Marcos. Somebody in chat said the magician's code. I don't give a fuck about a magician's code. I'm a fan of Penn and Teller. I don't expose it for two main reasons. Three main reasons. One, because I said this in the magic show. One is that some people in the audience don't want to know how it's done, and it would be a disservice to them to ruin it just because somebody else in the audience does know how it's done. Number two is many of the tricks that I do are things that other magicians do for a living. And while I've been paid for many magic shows, it's not my regular day job. Why would I ruin somebody else's job just to satisfy a couple people in the audience? And then the third reason is the one I already stated about then you run the risk of thinking you know how it's done. We got some calls coming in here. We're going to take one from JC here, a theist, in just a second. But I need to remind people that not only are there a bunch more shows here on the line, but we operate off of your generous donations and your support, which you can do by liking and subscribing. You can join the channel. You can go to patreon.com/calltheline, and you can send in your super chats. And Brady and I are going to be reading all the super chats over $10 today after we get done taking calls. So by all means, get them in. If you had a better thing that you could have said to any of the callers, including the ones with a tenuous grip on reality, feel free to just send those in so that we all get better at this stuff. All right, so here we go, Brady. We've got a theist, JC from Georgia, pronouns are him, who says the Bible is not BS. Hey, JC, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Is nothing in the Bible BS, or just is it all accurate?
I believe the Bible in its entirety, from the beginning to the end, is complete with internal evidence, external evidence, and historical proof to prove what's written inside is true and based on facts.
Cool. So let's just start right at the beginning with Genesis 1. What is the historical and scientific evidence that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth?
Yeah, so for start, you have three things that have to exist in the exact same time in the exact same place that create everything that we know in existence, which is space, time, and matter. So without space, you can have time but matter, but you don't have anywhere to put it. Without time, you can have space and matter, but you don't have a beginning or an end to where the space and the matter is. And without matter, you can have space and time, but there's nothing to exist in the time or in the space. And so in Genesis 1:1, God creates space, time, and matter. And in order for something
actually, that's
to be
not
created,
what it says.
space, time,
That's
and matter,
not what it says. That's not what it says. But also, I said, what is the historic and scientific evidence for Genesis 1:1? Because it says that God created the heaven and the earth. You've just described space, time, and matter. You haven't presented any scientific or historical evidence that God created heaven and earth.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting to. But space would be the heavens, earth would be the matter, and time is in the beginning. So in order for something, time, space, and matter to be in existence, something outside of those
I'm sorry, JC. You don't get to revise stuff, but even if we were to say that heaven is space and earth is matter, even though there's matter beyond earth, where's the demonstration from history or science that God did this?
Yeah, so science itself says that nothing can come existence from nothing.
No, it doesn't. So JC, that's not what science says at all.
Okay.
But also, science doesn't claim that something did come from nothing. What did God create heaven and earth from, in your view?
Well, in order for something as in time, space, and matter to exist.
No, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your question.
Well, you're failing, so let me re-ask it.
Yeah.
Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created. What is the historical or scientific evidence that God has ever done anything?
Yeah, scientifically, you can't create water from air.
No, sir.
So in order,
no,
air
sir.
cannot turn into
No,
water.
sir. No,
Water
sir.
cannot turn
No,
into
sir.
air.
No, sir. No, sir. I don't need you to parade your scientific ignorance, because even if it were true that you can't create water from air, that is irrelevant to whether or not science confirms that a God has ever done anything. So once again, what is the scientific evidence that a God has created something?
Yeah. The scientific evidence is that nothing can exist from nothing.
No, that is not the case. That is not the case.
Okay, so
JC,
can we agree that,
JC, no, we can't agree with that. I didn't agree with it the last time you uttered it.
I'm just trying to find
I'm
some common
sorry.
ground.
I'm sorry. I'm asking you, what is the scientific evidence that God did anything?
Okay, I'm trying to understand where you consider life to begin. Is it the Big Bang? Is it all of a sudden there was a single-celled organism and now we're in existence?
JC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Where I consider life to begin is irrelevant to whether or not science confirms that God did something. The beginning of life is irrelevant to whether or not God did something. How can somebody show that? I'm sorry. Why are you fucking talking? Why are you fucking talking when I'm trying to answer your question when you have failed to answer mine repeatedly? Let's try this again. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Where is the scientific evidence that heaven and earth were created by God? I don't need you to tell me what can't happen. I need you to tell, or what you think can't happen, because you're fucking wrong. I need you to explain what the scientific evidence is that God created heaven and earth.
Well, science says that nothing can exist from nothing.
No, it doesn't say that. No, JC, I'm going to mute you. I shit you not. Science doesn't say that. Science doesn't make proclamations of truth, and nobody's asserting that something came from nothing except for theists who are advocating that God created something from nothing. For the last fucking time, do not tell me what you ignorantly think science says about what can't happen. Science doesn't say anything about a God. There is no scientific study, survey, result, test, method, or anything that includes God. There is no scientific confirmation of anything supernatural. Never has been. It is beyond the realm of science. You are monumentally wrong about what science can even do. I'm trying to get you to tell me how you think science confirms a God. And all you're doing is saying, well, it says nothing can't come from nothing, which isn't what science says, which doesn't prove that it was done by a God. It doesn't prove that it was done at all. So for the last time, please present a scientific, peer-reviewed study that confirms that God created heaven and earth.
Are you still there?
We're back.
All right, can I answer your question?
I doubt it, but you can try.
Okay. The evidence that God created everything would be, in more layman's terms, the Big Bang.
Okay. Big Bang cosmology.
Big Bang?
No. I'm sorry. Big Bang cosmology is the current best explanation for all of the available evidence that talks about the expansion of everything, the expansion of space-time from a beginning that doesn't mean something was created. It only describes the expansion. We have no ability to explore that expansion, even with mathematics, prior to the Planck time. It is entirely possible that everything always existed in some form or another prior to the expansion. The Big Bang is not confirmation of a God. The Big Bang is a description of what happened from the tiniest fragment of a second from when the singularity began to expand forward.
Yeah. So the Big Bang, exactly what you said, a measurement of when everything moved into something, and it had to have been greater than what it was in the previous time. And it expanded. All Earth, all galaxies, all creation on Earth and outside of Earth, all expanded within a fragment of a second, which is what you just said.
No,
and in Genesis
no,
1,
no,
and
no,
in
no,
Genesis
no,
1,
no,
1,
no, no, no.
it
The
says
the
that
universe is.
everything.
But you stop talking. The universe has been expanding for 13.7 billion years. The Earth was not around there at that time. Life wasn't around at that time. You don't even have the basics of the Big Bang right, but nothing about the Big Bang confirms that a God did something. Where's your scientific confirmation that a God did something?
That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm trying to find a common ground.
You can't explain shit to anybody, JC. How would you show that a God did something?
A beginning of anything. I'm trying to understand what you consider the start of anything, whether it's a single cell, whether it's a one fragment of something that happened in space or matter or time that began what we consider to be
JC, what's the difference between a cell and an atom?
Yeah, a single cell, a single atom, a single cell organism, a multi-celled organism.
No, JC, anything. What's the difference between a cell and an atom?
Yeah, there's multiple atoms, whether it's valence electrons, neutrons, protons that make up an atom, and then atoms are formed into a single cell organism.
I've unplugged my headset, Brady. I'm going to go get some tea.
The chemistry.
Random science words prove God. I give up.
No,
JC,
the problem is that you
JC, what's
can't
going on,
find the beginning of your life or of life at all.
JC,
so you
do you understand that what you're doing is you're trying to reverse everything back to here's the furthest that we know, and we can't go back beyond that. And because we don't know anything beyond this point, therefore, my explanation must be what explains this. And my explanation is God. God for you seems to be a catch-all category of, if I stick all of the omnis, omnipower, omniscience, omnipresence, if I stick all the omnis into a huge question mark and put that back beyond the Big Bang, then I can say that question mark did everything that came after that point. But you can't demonstrate that question mark. You can't demonstrate your God. What Matt was trying to get you to do was explain or expound on any evidence for the God that you think did everything that comes after the point that you want to say, see that point there? My God's beyond that. Demonstrate your God beyond that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I'm proving God, that's different than proving creation. But I can prove that the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God and the Father of Jesus Christ, based on historical documents, historical evidence, outside manuscripts,
what historical evidence do you have?
Manuscripts.
What historical evidence do you have that the God of the Bible is responsible for the creation that you're pinning on it, other than a claim?
Yeah.
Hold on, JC. Other than a claim written by a claim by you know not who. You don't know who wrote the claim, but you like the claim. What is the evidence that the God you're trying to pin this creation on, A, exists, and then is responsible for this creation?
Yeah. All right. So the evidence that the claim that I'm making that God, this person, created everything, and it's written in the Bible, and so I have to prove that claim, right? So the Bible itself, as a manuscript, was written by 40 different authors over a time span of 2,000 years. And it, through and through, from Genesis to Revelation, it has zero contradictions. And it depends on how what contradictions you want to go into theologically.
Do you think that the Bible says anything that's...
I have to prove the Bible to be
true. You're giving me talking points. You're giving me Christian talking points about how many different authors over how many years. You don't know how many authors contributed to the Bible.
External historical documents. external historical evidence, and that's what I'm working to. So, in the first 5 books of the Bible is written by a man named Moses.
JC,
so we have
JC,
proof.
JC.
Yes.
Yes. Who wrote the book of Exodus?
Moses.
Who wrote the book of Leviticus?
Moses transcribed Moses.
When did Moses die?
Moses died about 1400 BC.
Is the story of Moses' death recorded in the book of Exodus?
It's in the book of Deuteronomy.
Genesis, Exodus, the book of Deuteronomy.
Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
I'm dusty on my Bible at this point. Who recorded Moses' death?
Yeah. Joshua, which was
so who wrote about Moses' death?
Joshua.
So then, if Moses' death is in Deuteronomy, then did Joshua write Deuteronomy?
No, Moses wrote Deuteronomy before he died, and then Joshua wrote the last chapter of Moses to record his death, and then that's when Joshua chapter 1 picks up at the end of Deuteronomy, which I believe is 32. So Moses.
So Joshua and Moses wrote Deuteronomy?
Yeah, predominantly Moses. I mean, he's given 95% of the book of Deuteronomy. Then Joshua wrote the latter half, which would be considered to be Joshua. But historically, they broke it up into Deuteronomy because there's a transition of what starts happening at the end of Deuteronomy and the first of Joshua to be considered into Joshua, but it's still considered the Bible. And so that the end of Deuteronomy is written by Joshua, but Moses wrote the most of Deuteronomy.
Prove it.
So I can prove it by Joshua.
You can't prove it. You can't prove it. Biblical scholars acknowledge that it's just tradition that we attribute those to Moses. We can't demonstrate that any Moses ever existed or ever wrote anything, or that we have any copy of what Moses wrote. I have a simple question for you. No. I have a simple question. Which came first, plants or the sun?
The sun.
Why does the Bible say plants were created the day before the sun?
It doesn't. So there's 2 different lights. So there in Genesis 1:1, God created. I'm giving you the answer.
You're lying. So
no.
What chapter 11? Chapter 11. Sorry. Genesis chapter 1, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
Let the earth bring forth grasses, the herb yielding seed, and the tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth that. That was the evening and morning of the 3rd day, right?
Yep.
What comes after that?
He separated the light and the dark, and the light he called day, and the dark.
No, that was before that. Before that.
He did that before that. What happened after that was he set lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night and be signs for seasons. And those lights are the sun and the moon, right?
Yeah.
That was the date and the next. That was the next day. So when I asked you if plants were created according to the Bible the day before the sun, I'm correct. And yet you and I both know that science knows that plants did not exist before the sun.
Yeah. Well, this is why. Can I give the explanation?
No.
According to the
I'm
Bible,
sorry.
Can I give
the
you
Bible
the
says we're trying to get to why you lied. I asked you, according to the Bible, which came first, the sun or plants? And you said the sun, which is a lie.
Well, if you're talking about light,
no, I'm still fucking talking, JC. It's a lie because the Bible says that plants came on day 3 and the sun and the moon came after that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when I asked you, which came first, why did you lie and then pretend that the Bible says something else?
Okay. Can I answer?
Yeah. Why did you lie?
Okay. Well, it wasn't necessarily a lie, but if you want to consider it a lie, then what I'd have to do is first ask.
Was I right about what the Bible said? Was I correct about what the Bible said?
You are correct that the sun.
And why did you pretend that I wasn't correct?
Okay, I'm. Can I answer?
No. I'm asking you, why did you pretend like I wasn't fucking correct? I've been doing this for 20 years. I know the Bible backwards and forwards. I don't know it as well as Justin and some others friends of mine do. But when we talk about, you called in to say that you can prove Genesis through the Bible or through science. And in actuality, Genesis gets the order of events wrong for creation so that it does not match what science says.
Okay, can I? You have two questions. Can I answer the first one?
What was the first one?
You asked me why. You asked me why did I lie, and if you were correct. Can I answer that?
I thought you already did. Well, go ahead.
You didn't let me. I misspoke, and it wasn't a lie. I wasn't trying to deceive you of the truth. Okay. So on day 4, God separated. He separated the light and the evening, and what you said created the sun and the moon.
I don't care what the book says. I don't care what the book says. I don't care what the book. I don't need you to fucking explain, JC. The book is wrong. The order of events.
Not wrong, because there was light. There was light, and in order for plants to grow,
JC, stop. JC, stop. Listen. The order of events in Genesis goes beginning and then a primitive earth in darkness, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. Did the earth exist before the sun, yes or no?
Before the planet sun, yes.
Did the earth exist before the sun, yes or fucking no?
Before the planet sun, yes.
Did the earth exist before the sun, yes or fucking no? You're not going to get to say another fucking word until I get a yes or no.
Before the planet sun, yes.
Did the earth, I swear to the God you're trying to lie for, we will not fucking move forward until you give me a yes or no. The Bible specifically says that the earth existed before the sun. So here's my question. Does the Bible claim that the earth existed before the sun, yes or no?
Before the planet sun, yes.
You motherfucker. There's only one fucking sun, and that's the Earth's sun that we're fucking talking about. You didn't need to add any clarification in. You're a disgusting, dishonest liar. You are lying for God, who doesn't even exist and will not appreciate it. The fact is, the Bible says the earth was created and in darkness, and the sun was made after that. And science says the opposite is true. So which one's correct? The order of events in the Bible or the order of events from science?
Both.
Okay. JC, I'm going to mute you again. Both can't be true. Either the earth existed before the sun, or the sun existed before the earth, or they came into existence at exactly the same time. Those are the only 3 options. Which one does science say is true?
The problem is you're not considering
no,
where the light came from
JC, you're done. You are done saying anything except for what I fucking ask you, because I'm tired of your dishonesty. So let's try this again.
Okay.
There are 3 options: earth first, sun first, or simultaneous. Which one does science say is accurate?
What is the light in Genesis 1, 2, and Genesis 1?
You lying, disgusting motherfucker. Which one does science say is accurate? Earth first, sun first, or simultaneous?
Light first.
No, I asked you, you lying piece of shit. Does the science say earth first, or sun first, or simultaneous?
It says the light existed first.
You lying motherfucker. I'm asking you what science says, not what the Bible says. Does science say the earth came first or the sun came first?
There had to have been light.
I don't give a fuck. I know that. Would you answer the question I'm fucking asking you, you dishonest piece of shit?
Whether that came from the sun or whether it came from
JC,
God.
why can't you answer the question?
Why won't you answer the fucking question? It's because you know you're full of shit. And you know I'm getting ready to expose you. So here you go. You don't get to answer my question. We all know that science says the sun is older than the earth. And we also know that science says that, yes, light is older than the sun. I didn't say anything about the sun being the first fucking light. I'm talking about whether the sun is older than the earth. The Bible says the earth is older than the sun. This is undeniable. And it's only one of many contradictions in the order of the events in Genesis.
Can I add on to that, Matt? JC, what you also don't seem to understand is you might think Matt just threw you a bone because Matt said, we know scientifically that light is older than the sun is older than the earth. But even that doesn't help your case because guess what your Bible says? Not just your Bible, the Bible that I used to love. Guess what the Bible says? The light that you want to take credit for in Genesis chapter 1 that comes before the sun, the Bible seems to think that that light is daylight. Where do we get daylight from? We now know we get it from the sun, but guess what it seems like? Seems like the authors of Genesis chapter 1 did not know that the sun's light and daylight were the same light. The authors very likely, and you can see this in the book of Job, the authors very likely thought that daylight was one source of light and the sun's light was a lesser, different source of light. So when you try to say light was there before the sun, and that's where the plants got their light from, Genesis seems to think that the light, I think it's Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, where God says, let there be light.
Yes.
That light.
Which is after the earth. So,
after
so this
no,
is
that's
how
before
bad
the earth.
This is how bad JC is.
Yes, after the earth, you're right. Yeah.
This is how bad JC is. All I wanted to know, see, the Bible says the earth is older than the sun. It also says the earth is older than light. Chapter 1, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters. Not only does God have the earth existing first, but waters as well. And then in verse 3, it's let there be light, and there was light. So the Bible has light coming after the earth and water. And God called the light day and the darkness night.
So that light is daylight. It's not some cosmic light in the, out in the ether. It's daylight. And then the sun comes days later. Is that accurate, JC?
He's muted.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of him fucking dodging. The Bible says that the earth existed with water before light and before the sun. Science has light existing first, and then the sun and stars, and then an earth, moon, and atmosphere with dry land, and then sea creatures, and then land plants, and then flying creatures, and then mammals. The Bible has a beginning, an earth with water, then an expanse or atmosphere, then light, and then expanse or atmosphere, then dry land, then land plants, then the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then sea monsters and flying creatures, and then wild and tame beasts, and then man. The Bible's order of events do not match science and are not supported by science. So when I asked JC at the beginning of this call, where's the scientific confirmation that God did anything or created anything? No such confirmation exists because science doesn't make any findings about a God. But what science does do is explore the world and create models. And the models that science has come up with do not match the order of events in Genesis. This is undeniable, no matter how much JC tries to twist himself into lying to claim it does. So, JC, come back and explain to us why the Bible gets the order of events wrong.
Okay, can I tell you where the light came from?
I don't give a shit where the light came from. What was the question I just asked you?
Ask me why the light came before the sun, and I want to tell you.
No, I didn't ask you why the light came before the sun, you lying garbanzo. I literally just asked you to explain why Genesis got the order of events wrong. I don't give a fuck where you think the light came from. I'm aware where science says the light came from, the cosmic microwave background radiation. Why does Genesis get the order of events wrong?
Light comes from God, and according to Revelation, the sun is Christ.
JC, you are literally too stupid or too dishonest for me to engage with. You were too stupid to address the question you were asked, and too dishonest to acknowledge that your book is bullshit. I'm muting you again, baby. I'm gonna mute you every time you lie or dissemble or distract. The question I asked you, and I'm gonna keep asking you until we run out of time or until you give up, is why did the book of Genesis get the order of creation wrong?
It's not wrong.
We just showed it was wrong. Here. Which is older, the earth or the sun?
The light is older.
You're so embarrassing. Like, if there is a Jesus, he's weeping right now at how shitty you are at defending this. Which is older, the earth or the sun?
He's weeping over your soul, actually. He's weeping over
No,
your
I don't
soul
have a soul, you dumbass. I don't have a soul, and neither do you. The question was...
You have to deny for
the question is, and I'm going to ask you again, like I said I was, I'm going to keep asking you because it's so much fun to get a clip of you embarrassing yourself over and over by refusing to answer a very straightforward and simple question, because you know, like every fucking Christian Bible idolater knows, if you answer the question honestly, destroy your foundation. So here's the question again. Which is older, according to science, the sun or the earth?
the light.
JC,
that wasn't one of the options.
But even his answer is wrong, because you just showed him the light comes after the earth. So how can the light be older if it came after the earth?
Oh no, I asked him about science. From science's standpoint, light came first, and then the sun, and then the earth. So here's a question. JC, does science say that light and then sun and then earth is the age of those three objects or things?
Isn't that what you just said?
JC, does science claim that light is older than the sun, which is older than the earth?
Light has to exist.
I'm sorry, that's a yes or no.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's a yes or no question. I'm sorry, that's a yes or no question. Does science say that light existed before the sun, which existed before the earth? Yes or no?
Light has to exist.
No, I didn't ask you to explain anything in science. You're too stupid and uninformed to explain anything for science. I asked you a yes or no question. Do you understand what a yes or no question is? Here, let's find out. JC, do you live in Georgia? Yes or no?
I don't answer yes or no. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't listen to people who are too dishonest to answer a simple yes or no question, because the fact of the matter is you're a liar. You know, no, I'm going to mute you. You don't get to say anything else. You know that science has light as older than the sun and the sun as older than the earth. And you also know that your Bible has the earth being oldest, with light being second oldest, and the sun being the youngest of those three. The order of creation does not match the order of actual events. This is one of the most obvious. You can't even get past the first half of the first chapter of the first book of your bullshit text without having to duck and dodge and avoid the simplest fucking questions, because you are too simple for the simple. Goodbye. That's so irritating.
It's so weird though, because if you follow his train of thought that the light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3 is Christ, then basically what he has is God creating Christ in verse 3. Let there be light. Then what is it? Are you saying Jesus comes into existence in verse 3? What are you talking about?
This is so wild. I mean, it's like, the Bible is, 63 books by 40 authors, and there's not a contradiction or error in there anywhere. You can't even get past the first verse without an assertion that isn't testable or confirmed. You cannot get past the first 3 verses without something that isn't contradicted by science.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that bats aren't birds, and that slavery is wrong, and that women aren't property.
We could talk about the sky dome. We could talk
and
about
there is no firmament.
Right. We could talk about the contradiction between Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. I mean,
yeah, you can't get past the first 2 chapters without destroying everything.
Oh gosh.
This is, I will say that while tonight's been extremely weird, it is at least nice that we got some really good examples.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of how religion completely fucking breaks a brain to the point where it makes you sit there and refuse to give an honest answer to a question, a simple one. Because if the Bible were correct and accurate, as JC says, and the earth existed before light, which existed before the sun, and science also said earth, light, and sun, we would have gotten quick yeses on both of those.
Yeah, for sure.
It's only because he knows, not just that they disagree. That's not the thing. He knows they disagree. He knows that they do not have the same order. So he will not answer the order that science puts it in, because that would be to deny the Bible.
Incredibly dishonest.
Religion breaks your brain, and it breaks my heart. You could be so much better, but somebody's convinced you that you have a magical soul, which is one of the stupidest, most ridiculous claims, most demonstrably unlikely to be true claims of all of religion. And it's got you so terrified that you might spend it in eternal hell, that you will lie in front of thousands of people about what the facts of science say. I mean, it would have been really easy to say, that's what science says, but the Bible got it right. That's what I would have done. That's what fundamentalist Southern Baptist Matt would have done, is say, yeah, science says this, but the Bible's still right.
Yeah. I don't know that it broke his brain. I think religion breaks your morals, because you can't tell the truth.
True.
You know the truth, you just can't say it.
You can't value people for people. You don't have a good reason to not kill or steal other than the threat of hell. There is no morality in Christianity. Christianity advocates for infinite torment or separation from God for finite crimes. Christianity begins with punishing people who did not have a concept of God, of good and evil, according to the book, for doing the thing that gave them the concept of good and evil. It is immoral from the beginning. And it's a blood-worshipping death cult. Why does God need blood sacrifice? Why does it say that he loves the smell of the burning flesh, and that allows him to forgive? Why does God have to take human form and serve as a sacrifice to himself? To serve as a loophole for rules he's in charge of? Because God is incapable of forgiving without blood magic? I'm embarrassed that I was ever clueless enough.
I was just sitting here thinking the same thing.
However,
when you put it like that, oh my gosh.
I was stupid in the colloquial sense. I was foolish. I was irrational. And I'm still stupid on other things, and I'm still foolish on other things, and I'm still irrational on other things, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only nice thing is, JC, you don't have to stay stupid. You don't have to stay irrational. You don't have to stay foolish. You don't have to stay dishonest. You don't have to keep lying to defend a God that doesn't exist and doesn't give a fuck about you. You can be better. You can just live your life and accept reality at the best understanding we've ever had. We flew around the moon just the other day.
Learn more than just enough science to defend the faith you're trying to cling to. Like, you've learned just enough science to know something about the Big Bang, but you don't want to understand everything about it, just enough to say, oh, so then I can still preach Genesis 1:1 now. Learn more about it than what it takes to defend your faith. There's so much more.
Mormons think the Garden of Eden is in not Springfield, Missouri. It's in Missouri, just outside of Kansas City, where I grew up. It's wild. In Genesis chapter 3, when God drives them out of the garden, and he hides it where nobody can find it.
In Missouri.
and the Mormons think it's in Missouri, and people laugh at them for that. But if you read Genesis 3:24, so he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, angels, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So somewhere on earth,
right,
there's a secret magic garden that has in it the tree of life with an angel and a flaming sword guarding it. And the Mormons get mocked because they think it's in Missouri. And I'm going to mock all the rest of you for thinking it's actually here.
Yeah.
Why haven't we discovered it? Ooh, God shields it so that we can't discover it. Well, first of all, not only is that not clear that that's what it says, but if God shields it so we can't find it, why does there need to be an angel with a sword protecting it? We have mapped the entire earth.
Google satellites. We can look down on the earth from every angle.
It definitely does not exist in the geographical location that it's described around the Tigris and Euphrates. Oh, it's in Missouri. Oh, it's somewhere else. Where is it? And why would there need to be a protector? And why wouldn't God just get rid of the tree of life?
Yeah.
You people who think that Genesis can be read literally are an extra level of deceived, far beyond the normal deception. It's a metaphorical story about a metaphorical fall. And that literally destroys your religion. Because if the fall is only metaphorical, then it isn't something inherited. Sin isn't passed down generation to generation. Sin and death was brought into the world metaphorically. It's roughly the equivalent of Pandora's box, only it's much less entertaining. Because all it's done is allow people to make villains of women and snakes. I like women, I like snakes. Neither one of them have destroyed the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the Garden of Eden is here where we can find it, then maybe it needs a guard with a sword. And if so, why haven't we found it? Oh, God hid it? Oh, that's convenient. Why would it need a sword again? Why couldn't God just destroy it? Why couldn't God move the tree of life to heaven so that it didn't need a protector? What's so magical about this garden? It's just a planet. It's a planet that is going to be destroyed and rebuilt, maybe. Your story is stupid.
Yeah.
Not just bullshit. It's stupid. And I get that it's very difficult to come to that realization when you are simultaneously being threatened that you're going to spend an eternity in hell. And I know that you've got to do some work to get over that. So I wish you well. And I hope that you do. But when I say your Bible's bullshit, I mean, it is absolutely bullshit, and it's easy. It's trivially easy to demonstrate by the first 3 chapters of Genesis.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got some super chats to read. I'm going to do the schedule once again real quick before we do that. Huge thanks to Brady for joining me tonight. Tomorrow, the Transatlantic Call-In Show, which starts at 2 p.m. Central, you're going to get Riverboat Jack and Luxander. That show, if you're not familiar, is a couple of trans folks engaging with callers who are anti-trans or bigots or have questions or concerns or are looking for help. If you've ever been called transphobic and you don't think it's deserved, call them. They might be able to explain why it is or isn't deserved. And if you're proud of it, you're proud of getting called a transphobe, definitely call them so that they can school you and make you look as foolish as we all already know you are. There's a Cus I Wanna this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. with Arden and Kip Davis. And Sunday night is going to be Forrest Valkai and Eric. Oh, no, that was that's past week. Sorry. Sunday during the day is going to be me and Promise on the 12th. And Sunday in the evening is going to be Justin and Owen doing the Sunday show after dark. Next Monday's Skeptalk is going to be Erica Gutzik-Gibbon with Aaron Ross. And Tuesday's Chewed Gum is going to be Taylor and Alyssa Lube. And next Wednesday, I will be back here on the Hang Up with Blitz, PhD, who is recovering and back to doing stuff live. And I can't wait. We can talk a little bit about Artemis and science. And one thing I really want to dig into is relativity and the limits of it. So if you want some, I'm definitely being hung up on science and relativity next week. Although I'm imagining we'll probably still get theists calling in. Maybe somebody will call in to say, no, Genesis is right and science is wrong. That'd be fun for Blitz. All right. Super chats. Here we go. $10 from Space Barbarian 3484. Thank you so much, Space Bar. Here's some money for the trouble of callers who mistake this for a mental health crisis hotline. When did low birth rate, I'm going to say, become a problem? All I used to hear about was overpopulation, which it helps. Yeah, and I don't know enough to know what the current status is, but I know it's changed and shifting. I think Arden knows way more about it than I do because she mentioned something to me, I think within the last couple of weeks about a call like that. I'll look into it more. Maybe I'll have a hang up on birth rate.
I don't know anything about it globally. I just know like what you kind of said at the end of that call, where like 90% of the people who talk about birth rate are white supremacists who are talking about like preserving the nation or some weird shit like that. So it always sets a red flag in my head where I'm like, I don't trust this person.
Maybe I'm typical for white guys because I can't have kids. Maybe that's the real problem. They're terrified that, we just have weak or dying sperm and not going to be able to reproduce.
All right, so we got $9.99 from Michaela, I believe that is. I grew up SDA. This is the first I've heard a caller mention Ellen White. Are you familiar with David Koresh and his turn away from the SDA into a cult? I learned about it in my SDA boarding school.
Yeah, David Koresh ran a cult just an hour and a half north of me in Waco, Texas.
Waco, yeah.
Yeah, it led to death. As do many of the more egregious cults, but $10 from Greg Murkowski. Thanks for the show, guys. Thank you, Greg.
All right, $9.99 from Matthew. Thanks for your help, Matt. I left Christianity years ago, and your videos continue to help me week after week. I appreciate all you do, and I will chime in and say, yes, thank you, Matt. You've helped many, and me included.
Oh, thank you so much. I worry on days like today when we get callers that are, I've worked hard to try to figure out what questions to ask that might be enlightening, that might make someone aware. And it's getting to the point where those are the questions that get avoided. And it's very clear that some versions of some religions have defense mechanisms that are so good.
Yeah.
The brain can spot exactly which questions it had better not Like, oh, I don't hear your question. I don't see your question. I'm not going to answer your question.
Active avoidance. Yeah.
Yeah. It is absolutely awful. Thank you, Matthew. Terrible name. Terrible name. I'm pretty sure it means gift of God, but I think I love somebody. I don't remember which comedian it was. Somebody in chat will know the comedian who was asked about what their name meant. And he was like, I'm American, honey. Our names don't mean shit. But we adopt names from other places. So, yeah. Oh, is that me? $10 for Canadian from Pyroform. So we had God and JC call in tonight. Big night for the line. We just need the Holy Spirit and we'll have a full set. Great show. Thanks to all of you at the line. Thanks. Did we have God and JC? You're right. And you know what's funny is JC was more in touch with reality because he at least knew to lie about it.
Michaela again, $9.99. Thank you. I grew up in SDA schooling from kindergarten to a boarding high school with required Bible class and church attendance. I didn't learn about Kellogg until a psych class in the University of Minnesota. I guess that's one of two. Is that what that was?
Yeah, the second half.
Okay. For $19.99. Back at it for the second half. John Harvey Kellogg, dedicated to eugenics, combined Adventist beliefs, and healthy diet, circumcision without anesthetic. Oh my gosh. To prevent masturbation. What kind of a hell is this? No race mixing in favor of sterilizing mentally defective persons.
Yeah.
Evil person, indeed.
Yeah. I tell you this, that circumcision without anesthetic, unless it's absolutely botched, it's only going to prevent masturbation for a very short period of time. Jeez. As soon as it's not hurting anymore, unless you've damaged so much. Anyway, this has been a great show and love when Brady's on. Me too. I hope to get off work and meet y'all at the Herp Show. Yay. Hey, thanks, Blue Ear. And we'll be doing the Herp Show in Belton at the end of the month. I wish we could get Brady on there have been weeks recently when we're doing vertical video where we got good, sincere defenders who would actually answer questions and acknowledge points. I want to get Brady on when we have that, rather than Brady on when all I have to do is mute and yell at people for being dishonest. That's boring.
Last time, I think we had some pretty good callers. Tonight was okay, but last time we had some good callers.
I think you're right. We'll get you back as many times as I can.
We had some of the best callers we had in a long time. Last time Brady was on.
That's why they didn't call in today. They saw Brady and they were like, "Fuck that! I'm running away from him."
So $10 from Is That Idle Bits? It looks like. Okay, hear me out. Okay. Maybe the Garden of Eden is in the ocean now. Sure, we've mapped the land, but the ocean is largely unmapped. The flood could have moved it. Sorry for giving them more ideas.
Except that, we have mapped a good chunk of the ocean floor. There may be something that's missing. And obviously, I don't know how well we can probe like the depths of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah.
But if it's there, it doesn't need an angel guarding it with a sword, because we ain't getting to it. Unless they're worried like the giant sea monster will go down there and eat from the tree of life and live forever. Maybe the angel with this, that's it. It's at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and the angel and the flaming sword, ooh, sounds like a lightsaber, is protecting it from the incredible sea monsters that might eat the tree, eat the fruit of the tree of life.
Hilarious.
That's nuts. On that note, huge thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you to Brady for joining me. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I know we took some really wild calls tonight. And I know I was way, way, way more frustrated than normal, even after I said somebody wouldn't get to me and they still got to me. I struggle, and still do, with there are very simple questions you can ask. And I think they're within the reach of almost anybody. I don't tend to get technical with jargon. I think that the questions that we're asking, it's the most interesting thing. Go back and, well, not y'all who were actually here and watched it live. Don't do this right away, but do it someday. Go back and watch every caller and what the question was and what they said.
Exactly.
I think I should start calls with some very simple things like, hey, caller, do you know how to answer a yes or no question?
Yeah.
Hey, caller, if I ask you, how do you tell who's the murderer out of 3 suspects? Do you think you could give an explanation for the types of things we might look for? Cool. Do you have an explanation for like how we would decide who is and isn't a suspect? So, for example, if the body was found, in my front yard, and it wasn't there 12 hours ago, Brady's not a suspect, right? Because Brady hasn't been anywhere near my yard in the last 12 hours. I presume. I don't think you've been near my yard.
Right. Not a
But
stalker.
asking questions like that and using them to reflect back on things. Hang on. When we asked you this question about the body, you were able to give a simple answer. When we asked you this question about, Ellen White, her prediction, you weren't. When we asked you this question about, hey, does science say that light existed before the sun? Yes. Sweet. Does the Bible say light existed before the sun? Yes. Awesome. Science and the Bible agree. Cool. Does science say that light and the sun existed before the earth? Yes. Does the Bible say that light and sun existed before the earth? No. Those are the honest answers.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you're put in a position where you're going to have to find a way to reconcile that apparent contradiction, especially when you stupidly start by saying there are no contradictions. There may not be a contradiction between those couple of verses, but there's definitely a contradiction between this order of events and the ones that science confirms. And it could be the case that science is wrong and the Bible got it right. And then we have to have a conversation about how do you know which one's right? Because I accept that science is right because it is pointing to empirical evidence that is independently verifiable. And the Bible is a story that doesn't have evidence to support its creation narrative. And fundamentally, you already knew that before you called in. So you made the worst claims you possibly could. Instead, there are other Christians that would say, look, the Genesis account is some ancient people's best attempt at describing what happened. They didn't get the order right. They weren't operating off evidence. Right. Their focus was on the fall. Their focus was on how sin and death entered the world, how humans, with their free will, broke God's creation, why we are all guilty and fallen short of the glory of God, why Christ was sent down so that we can be redeemed. I don't understand how, as an atheist, I can still be a better Christian than the Christians who call in. Because I can tell you what the Bible says.
Yeah. You don't have anything to hide. That's why. But you
I
should
know
do
the
that.
story.
I would love to see that. I would love to see like that intro just to set the stage. Can you do this? Can you be on this call? And then have it documented. The world just watched you do it at the intro. Now do that throughout the call. And when you don't do it, we'll know that you're being dishonest.
What he said. Pointed the wrong way. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much. You can go to patreon.com/calltheline. You can go to linemerch.com and buy stuff. You can like and subscribe. You can click join, or you can leave a whole bunch of thumbs down because I'm just absolutely terrible. But don't you dare do that to Brady. Brady's contact information should be down below here as well. And you will definitely be seeing him back as soon as possible almost. But, oh yeah. And ICE is a terrorist organization funded by your tax dollars if you're an American citizen. If you live outside the United States, your tax dollars actually aren't funded.